and it's because how Buffalo is with their weather, and so he came up with a new phrase: "Snow melts in May."
Snow melt. That's funny. And you're a professional depressionist, which we'll get to a bit later. I'm here. I'm here with Scoop and Brandon. I'm Robert, as always. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday night. This is going to be a sad one. Scoop messaged me or messaged our chat around maybe 2 p.m. Pacific or something, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm sorry if I'm going to be angry and sad the whole night." And I'm like, yeah, I completely understand. So just
Yeah.
this might be the best show or the most hysterical one or the
Yeah.
other,
Or
um,
both. Or both.
or
Or
both.
both.
Before we do that, Scoop, would you like to say your piece on the Buffalo Bills losing to the
Yeah.
Patriots and having some pretty awful weeks the last few weeks?
Yeah. So again, I have tried multiple times over the past couple. This goes back a couple years now. To, when deserved, give their flowers to Sean McDermott. Give their flowers to Josh Allen. Get this, that, and the other. Show the Bills the respect that I maybe haven't given them in the past, because I've always seen them. When everybody else is super high on them, I've still been seeing things that in my mind kept them on fraud watch. And again, we go back today. We see them lose at home to the Patriots, who are a decent team and definitely a better coach team than they were in the past. They're not great. And then you go back last week. This is a team that had every opportunity to lose to the New Orleans Saints. And if they were playing literally anybody but the New Orleans Saints, almost definitely do lose that game. This is a team that we go back now and we look at their so-called domination against the Baltimore Ravens. Are we that impressed with that game anymore? And again, it wasn't that much of a domination. They won by 1 point. And then they won against Miami. Sorry, Miami at home. Miami, I don't know if their coach is going to coach another game there. They won against the New York Jets. Congrats, everybody beats the New York Jets. Like, what am I supposed to be excited about from their 4-1 start? Because
I will say,
yeah,
go finish up, Scoop. Go ahead.
Yeah, and again today, what have we said time and again? Josh Allen shouldn't be asked to do everything. Sure enough, Josh Allen today, their leading passer and their leading rusher.
Awful.
It's this team does not. And again, with that offense, what did they put up? A whopping 20 points. Congrats, your team has been able to score, at least until today, 30 plus points per week against Baltimore, whose defense is once again underperforming the names on it. The Jets, who are remarkably bad on defense for having a defensive head coach. The Saints and the Dolphins, which again, I just said everything that needs to be said about both of them. So again, this team, and then they're going to go on. Excuse me, sorry. They're going to go on the road to Atlanta this week. I'm going to get on an extra day of rest on Monday Night Football. Who put Bills Falcons on Monday Night Football? I'd love to know.
I will also add that it's a double header, so 4:15 Bills Falcons, 5:15 Bears Commanders. That's going to be fripping fun. Oh,
just the only thing about Bears Commanders that at least gives it some redemption value for me is that it's the number 1 and 2 quarterbacks from last year, so I at least kind of get that one.
I guess with both, with the doubleheader itself,
it's a bit of a reach, but I can at least guess why Bears Commanders was at least thought of before this season as a potential good game to put on primetime. But again,
I will add this as well with the Ravens game, right? The Ravens game, I think, is a perfect kind of touch point for this, that where you're going, Scoop, and that's why I wanted to jump in here, because the reality is the Ravens defense didn't perform in that game at all, and that still stayed true today against Houston. And then on top of that, the other piece of this that we keep harping on is this Bills defense right now looks pretty equivalent to the situation going on in Baltimore.
And the Baltimore defense that quote unquote didn't perform, Buffalo still won by 1 point in their home stadium on week 1. And so, again, you're going to go and play Atlanta. I presume you're going to find a way to win that game. Then you have a bye week. Then you face Carolina, who, if Dave Canales is still coaching there, and things haven't drastically improved from what I saw today, then I presume they're going to have at least a solid shot to win that game. But again, show me later in the season when you have to go and play the Buccaneers on November 16th, when you have to go on the road and play Pittsburgh on November 30th, when you have to play the Eagles in your penultimate home game. Show me what you are in those types of games, because I'm not impressed with you going 4-0 against the teams that you went 4-0 against in the manner in which you did, and then coming out and laying a freaking goose egg against the Patriots today on your own home turf. I mean, it's I'll put it this way: Stephon looking very comfortable in his new digs.
Yeah, I mean, for 1 week, I will say he hasn't been perfect. But again, you see the improvement, you see the evolving of him and Drake May. But Brandon, I think the biggest thing we can take away is also this Bills defense, as we've talked about all season, is just as awful as can be.
I mean, what did I say after Bills Ravens? I said both these teams defensively still suck, and that's true today. The Bills defense still sucks. I don't care anymore. Like, at this point, I'm with Scoop where it's like, remember how we did our meter things last week, 1 to 10, the scale, and I said, after I said, even though the Bills won last week, I was at about maybe a 3. I mean, now,
I think I had them as like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, you want to go up to a 9, Scoop?
I'm not going to put them up in a 9 just yet, but I'm definitely moving up to about an 8, because again, you're trying to tell me that I'm supposed to be seeing with something with this team that puts them on the Kansas City level or the Philly level or the
That's not a great level right now either, to be fair.
Kansas City,
I'm talking about from the last couple of years, but you're telling me that I'm supposed to put them on this level with the best teams in the NFL year to year. Show it to me. In the words of what is it, Jerry Maguire? Show me the money.
Well, it's
fair point.
They're 4-1, but they easily should be 2-3. You can make a case they should have lost to the Saints last week. They lost this game, and then they should have lost. And they should have lost to the Ravens. That's 3 losses right there. They should be they're a 2-3 football team right now.
Your record of what you are versus the teams that you outplay and that outplay you are 2 different things. If we're talking about the games where they've outplayed their opponent, they outplayed the Jets, and they outplayed the Dolphins. They got outplayed by the Ravens, they got outplayed by the Patriots, and they got outplayed by the Saints.
Yeah, I don't.
And
I
frankly,
look at them.
And frankly, the Saints and the Patriots are the 2 worst of those teams to be outplayed by, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Does it matter to you that the Patriots are in division, or is it something that you're kind of just adding on as kind of a grain of salt kind of situation?
It always matters to me when something's a division game. I think that those always. I mean, we've seen teams like we talk about it with the Raiders and teams like them in particular, where it just seems like certain teams always show up better for division games. But again, when you are, again, we're talking about the Patriots, right? The Patriots have had this head coach for 5 games, and they've had this quarterback for 2 years. Allen and McDermott have been together in Buffalo for 7 seasons. Okay. They shouldn't be on the same level with the Patriots right now.
Like that tonight with that look. I mean, that just looked like the Bills. First of all, these are the same problems we've been saying with the Bills every year. Do they run the ball enough with Cook? No. Do they ask Josh Allen to be Superman? Yes. Do they make adjustments? No. Do they change?
Do they have a good defense? No.
Until I see something, like Scoop is saying, until I see something change, I don't care what their record is. They're not a Super Bowl contender.
No.
Nothing changes with them. That's the problem. It's the same shit. I mean, every year it's the same thing. Their secondary is still garbage. their front seven to me is overrated. They're Josh Allen is the one doing everything on offense. I mean, their weapons aren't bad, but I mean they're not great either. But then James, we keep saying this all the time. James Cook is 1,000. I mean, this guy should be rushing for 1,400 plus yards every year, and he's not because they only give him 15 carries or less every week. This guy should be getting 20 plus. Like
the one thing that Chris Collinsworth said today that I really liked, and it made me think about this conversation that we have every week, is they're not even getting him in good spots out of the backfield to catch the football. Chris Collinsworth said that in the middle of the first quarter, and I was like,
yeah,
oh my God, that's another huge problem that we're not even talking enough about.
Yeah, they're not even utilizing his dual threat pretty much ability, and it's like it's when I look at them, I'm just like, listen, are they still tied for the best record in the AFC? Yes. Were they the last unbeaten team to go down? Yes, but that doesn't mean they're a good football team. Like you lost, like you basically only had one job today, and that was stop Stephon Diggs. And you didn't do it. And
not only did you not do it, I'm pretty sure I saw a graphic that said that this was the biggest performance by an ex-Bill against the Bills in history.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I saw that.
It was. Yeah. He had 10 catches for 146 yards.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's his best game of the season, or best game as a Patriot, right? By far.
Like this is a guy that we've looked at for the last 2 years and be like, oh, he's probably washed. We're getting towards the end of his career. Comes out against the Bills and destroys them. And it's like, that's, especially for a team that was a guy that was a big part of your core for years. That was a guy that was one of the, a top 5, top 10 wide receiver on your team for years. This is a guy that you should know how to game plan for. Like, his tendencies like the back of your hand. It doesn't make any sense as to how he's able to cook you that bad. And then, not just that, but you're just letting Drake May off the hook because honestly, if he wasn't throwing the ball to Stephon Diggs, he wasn't finding anybody. A lot of those plays where he had to extend the play was all going to Stephon Diggs. Every throw was Stephon Diggs. So, I mean,
every big throw, every major moment.
Yeah, it's like literally every major moment in that game, every third down, especially later on in the game, every time it felt like the Bills had some momentum brewing defensively. What happened? A breakdown in coverage. Stephon Diggs is wide open with nobody around him for about 5-10 yards. Why? It's like, listen, Drake played really well tonight, but a lot of that is because Stephon Diggs was just wide open for 90% of the game. So, I mean, I just don't understand Buffalo just completely, crapping on on themselves, shooting themselves in the foot. Buffalo just keeps doing it not even every week. It's every year at this point because there's no defense ever when it matters against any kind of team, good or bad. There's never enough James Cook usage. There's never any adjustments from one half to the next, and it's too much of, hey, Josh Allen, we know you can throw the ball 70, 80 yards. You know what? How about we do that? It seems like every other throw.
Every game. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. It just that's not winning football. You can't win when your offense becomes one-dimensional like that. You cannot win anything. It doesn't work that way. Your offense cannot have no running game and one guy playing superhero ball, because eventually that's going to bite you in the ass. And what happened tonight, it bit them in the ass and bit them hard. So you cannot play football like that. A good offense has to be able to listen. Even if you don't have great receivers, you have to be able to scheme those receivers open, play to their strengths, play as a team offense. I mean, it's cliche, but play as a team offensively. Stop having Josh Allen just either take off and run for 7-8 yards even when there's receivers open because he doesn't trust them. Like this offense has to just communicate better. There's a lot of breakdowns in communication. There's a lot of broken plays that end up in just bad, lost yardage that shouldn't happen. Like even tonight with Josh Allen, half the time I had no idea where he was throwing the football. Some of the receivers he was throwing the ball were never open. And also not just
and
that.
That's why he threw crucial interceptions. Those crucial interceptions were because of that exact reason.
And then how many fumbles were there?
Yeah.
Oh my. Well, okay. That first half was just fumble Ruski personified because that's what the Patriots do, and apparently that affected the Bills as well.
Yeah. But you know what else? Other problem I have too, just with Buffalo, is it's never. Did you ever realize when it comes to their offense too, when they do ask Josh Allen to throw the ball, he never spreads the ball around. It's always one guy that has a big game and one only. It's never that. It's like one guy gets 3 targets, one guy gets 5, one guy gets 4, one guy gets 2.
He's not a what do they say? He's not a point guard type of player.
You're not a distributor.
No.
Yeah,
which is
100%.
Which is why not to be
a point guard, exactly.
Which is why not to be a homer, but that's why I like our quarterback because he spreads the ball around. So it's
we will get to that in a moment.
Yeah. But like Josh, like tonight, your leading receiver was your tight end who had half of Josh Allen's passing yards tonight. Half of them came from Dalton Kincaid. When your tight end has half your passing yards, you're not going to win a lot of games. You're just not.
Yeah. So the big thing during Seahawks Bucks, which was the game of the day, that's why Scoop, your boy Baker Mayfield, is the cover of the show today.
Yes.
But with that, I was thinking, like, I would put this in our chat that we always do to kind of prep and all that stuff that we normally do. I was thinking, like, okay, the Buccaneers, they feel like maybe I can put them in a Super Bowl contender bubble. Seattle, maybe even they were impressive today. And then Brandon brings up a good point. This is one of the first times, the first week of October, Brandon, that we're not really sure who are contenders and we know who aren't, but we're not really sure who are. We have some inkling, like with Seattle and Tampa Bay, for example, but it's not perfect.
I looked at this slate of games today, and I was looking at all the bigger teams, and I'm like, none of them look good. Like, really, none of them do. And like, when I go down the list of teams, we just touched on the Bills, right? But the Bills didn't look good. The Patriots, Patriots obviously beat them, but the Patriots are not a team to write home about. And then you get to the AFC West, the Broncos beat us, but the Broncos didn't look great. We kind of beat ourselves. And then Chargers got destroyed by Washington by returning Jaden Daniels. That team's not.
They were up by 10 or like 7 in the first half. They dominated the first half, and the second half they just chargered it up as they always do.
And they lost by 3 scores. That's their second straight loss. So the Chargers have now dipped down a lot. The Steelers are on bye, so we can't talk about that. But that whole AFC North is just a shit show. And then you get to the AFC South. The Colts, listen, they beat the Raiders, but listen, like the damn Titans, I think at this point could beat the Raiders. Like that game,
and also that game. I'll add this: that game was not as much like we were seeing the beginning of the season, where it was a lot of like Daniel Jones and such. That was more the Jonathan Taylor game than it was the.
He was unbelievable the last 2 weeks. Unbelievable.
That's the one weakness I have with the Colts. Besides the late game defensive breakdowns, it's the problem I have with the Colts is that if you stop Jonathan Taylor, Daniel Jones is not going to beat you. He's not. He's just that's what it is. Jonathan Taylor makes that offense go, not Daniel Jones. Even though Daniel Jones is playing well, but when you can contain Jonathan Taylor, that offense can't do anything. So that's my problem with them. Even at 4-1, and then you get to the Niners. The Niners have a combination of two things. They haven't played anybody, and yes, they're 4-1, but these are ugly games where honestly, they're winning by the skin of their teeth because the other teams are making too many mistakes.
Yeah.
So Kyron Williams gifted them 2 fumbles. If that doesn't happen, or in hell, freaking if Cardi and that special teams unit could learn to not get their kicks blocked,
Right.
then the Niners are 3-2 at best.
And
So
I'll add something to that. And I hate to say it, but the truth is the truth. Our Eagles, Brandon, 5 games in, we haven't won a single game by more than a touchdown.
yep, yeah, I know. So
And then we'll add Tampa Bay. They're winning all their games by 1 score.
Tampa is literally winning
Yeah,
9. Like what? Tampa's winning most of their games. Like what? So their 1 loss came to us, but all 4 of their wins have been in the last minute of the game. Inside the last minute of the game,
Like, they've won by 3 points to Atlanta, 1 point to Houston, 2 points to the Jets, and 3 points to the Seahawks. My God,
It's not good enough.
That's not good.
They haven't won a single game by more than a field goal. Forget about me saying the Eagles at a touchdown. They haven't won a single game by more than a freaking field goal.
To me, the Buccaneers, listen, they're 4-1, but if I'm looking at this as a whole, out of all the 4-1 teams, because there's no unbeatens left now, out of all the 4-1 teams, I said this last week after we beat them, the Buccaneers right now through 5 weeks, out of all those teams, they're the most fraudulent 4-1 team I've ever seen. Because
close to the Vikings winning all those 1-score games a couple of years ago.
And it's like,
I remember that all too well.
Like that's the thing is I love Baker Mayfield. I love how he plays. And listen, they are a little bit banged up, but
Taylor Swift reference counter is at 1. Sorry,
but,
just had to bring that up. It is Taylor Swift weekend.
I mean, you can. I don't get a lot of the references, but you can.
Scoop and I get them.
Yeah, I
we
get
them. We get them. We're at 1. Let's see how many we could stack up.
I know
without annoying people.
I know certain songs, but after like her first 2 or 3 albums, I don't care anymore. Or I just lost the plot. Whatever. I don't care.
Losing the plot makes sense.
I don't care about her music. That's just plain and simple.
Oh my God! I want to bring up a team so bad that people have lost the plot on, but I can't do it
yet. so hold on. But the Buccaneers, they're 4-1, but they should easily be 1-4.
I want to respond. I'm going to respond to you when you're finished with this point because it's a point that I want to make also.
Yeah, but then so it's I look at the Niners have too many injuries and they just have not looked great. I don't think they can sustain that with how many injuries they have.
All right, let me challenge you. Do you like? I'm curious about your guys' feelings on Seattle because I'm kind of I like where they're heading, but are they? I don't know if they're on the cusp of the contender list for me.
The problem with Seattle, and it seems like this is an every year thing, is that they'll look great, just like this year. They'll look great for 3 weeks, then they'll look like absolute shit for 2 weeks. Then they'll look great for a week, and then bad for a week. And then they'll look great for 2 weeks.
So the Cardinals game isn't a good example. The Cardinals game last week.
It's tough because I want to like Seattle, and I like what they have. It's just that when I look at them, I'm like, they need consistency because all the teams in this league that are going to be there at the end of the year are all the teams that are consistently good every year. So that's
I will say this. I might argue that their win in Pittsburgh was a more impressive win to me than any of the wins some of those other teams have had that are 3-2 and 4-1.
Seattle.
I could see it
the first week.
Say again.
Are you saying Seattle versus Pittsburgh that first week or whenever that was?
I thought it was week 2, but it was whenever they beat them by 14. But whenever they beat them by 14 in Pittsburgh, I was
week 2. Yes,
that in terms of convincing me that you're a legitimate team, I would put that win as an individual game above most of the games that these other 3-2 and 4-1 teams have played.
See, the only thing that scares me even about that win, and this is straight from Adam's mouth, not even mine, but this is the kind of sentiment I'm getting. I mean, that Steelers defense is not good at all this year. It's not good.
I love how the division that prides itself on defense has some of the worst defenses possible.
They're horrible. And you know what's funny? Somehow, the Browns, the Browns would literally be winning that division if they had an offense, but they
had a quarterback. By the way, Dylan Gabriel looked really good today.
Yeah. I was just going to say, you said, and again, it's one game, obviously, but you say if they have their quarterback.
Yeah. Gabriel looks good.
It was as good of a debut that you can have without winning. I'll put it that way.
And again, Scoop, you talk about this with the Browns a lot about their history and all that, which we talked about that weeks before. But this felt like the first game, even with a loss for Cleveland, where you're like, they just made him do what he needs to do. Didn't force the ball down the field.
Yeah, well,
made him run the ball. They ran the ball really well with Junkins. Like,
yeah,
I was really happy with what I saw.
Impressive to me. That was impressive to me, and I was glad to see that. And I agree. You can't bring a guy out, and if you expect to actually develop him, and this is what I've been saying for the last few weeks. Like, we look at the teams that have really nailed it with their young quarterbacks. The teams like the Patriots, or why did I say Patriots? The Packers, excuse me, wrong P team. Some of these teams, especially teams that are taking guys not in the first round, like not guys that we are automatically convinced are day one starters. They look like they're doing it right. Now, I don't know if they're going to start him again next week. There's still some belief. They should, but again, should and do are not typically synonyms in the Jimmy Haslam.
If they start Sanders, I will blow a gasket.
You and me both.
But that's a real possibility, Scoop. It's very real.
I think we all would, because I'm actually invested in Dillon Gabriel since he's a former Duck.
And I'm invested in Dillon Gabriel because I told people this offseason that Dillon Gabriel might be my favorite quarterback in this past draft. But again, looking at this whole thing, and for reasons that I've spoken about before, I have had to watch literally every single Browns quarterback since I was 11. So I have seen, as the Farmers commercial goes, I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two, or in this case, a thing or 17. But I liked what I saw today. I want to see Stefanski continue to do. I'm a big fan of Stefanski as a coach. I want to see him continue to put his quarterback in position to be able to grow and develop, to not ask his quarterback to do more than he's ready to do. And
which they did perfectly today.
Yep, and for the front office, our former Eagle Andrew Berry, and and those guys around him, keep bringing in guys, even if you think that you're not a contender this year, which most people believe that about them. Go in at the deadline, get some guys who are not on contract years, keep building up that offense around him so that he's able to develop, but also has a fighting chance to actually improve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the main reasons we see quarterbacks' developments get stunted or go sideways is because they and the players around them are not on the same level of ability or where they are in their development or whatever. And you've either got, a quarterback or a young quarterback with nothing around him to help him, or you've got, the Johnny Manziel situation where you've got all these guys who are ready to win right now, and a quarterback who is like, he's like the 5'2" kid walking into the high school, and
with 5 bottles of beer and whiskey and wine and tequila. But Brandon, continue on what you were saying with the Steelers, because I just thought that was a good transition to Cleveland when you said it, because Gabriel played quite well.
It's just like,
he did. God bless him.
Well, I mean, it makes my Oregon Duck heart happy to see that there's 3 Oregon Duck quarterbacks in the NFL right now that are starting. So, like that makes me happy. But it's a shame that we lost to one today. But at the same time, I just like looking at the Steelers, because Adam has said this, all my other Steelers friend Gabe, who we've heard on the show like last year, they both said it. They don't like that defense, and honestly, I'm with them. I don't like this. This is the first time ever that we can say pretty much in Steelers history we don't like that defense. It's not good. So that's like my concern with them, but I just look at all these different teams, and I'm going down the list of like these 3-2, 4-1. Like, to me right now, there usually should be like a sizable gap between the 4-1 and even 2-3 teams. It doesn't feel that way. so far.
No, there's none.
I think you can make a real case right now that the best team in the NFL isn't a 4-1 team.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. I mean, they're going nuts over what Detroit's done because they've scored the most points.
I was just gonna say, of all the teams that are 4-1, I know we've kind of fallen off them the last few weeks because they don't have the coordinators anymore and because they kind of stumbled out of the gate. I still think there's a real argument to be made that the best 4-1 team right now is still the Lions.
And even then, I'm not even that sold just because the last 2 weeks they've beat. Listen, like
I know who they've beaten the last few weeks, but again, you have to play who's on your schedule, and they're not. In their defense, they're not winning. When they're playing the Bengals, the Browns, the Ravens, the Bears, at least they're not winning these games by 5 points or 7 points. They're
smacking them.
They are taking it. They are beating these teams the way you should be beating these teams. They're going and they're beating the Bengals by 2 touchdowns. They're beating the Browns by 24. They're beating the Bears by 31. That's at least if you're going to be playing those teams, at least play them the way you should be playing them if you're that good. So that's at least where I'll give Detroit that I can't give really any of the other 4-1 teams.
That's a really fair point. I
do get it, but the thing is, Detroit's done that every year, where they beat up on everybody. And then they just so to me, Detroit hasn't shown me that they do anything like to me it's like.
But that's my point is what is in their capacity to have shown you in the last few weeks that they haven't shown you?
To me it's
really quick. That's the big thing with Detroit because they have at Kansas City next week on Sunday night, and then home against and then home against Tampa on Monday night the week after.
I want to see it. For me to really put stock behind them, I want to see it from those 2 games. I want to see them beat both those teams by probably 2 scores, 10 points.
I would actually add the game after that because that's off a bye against the Vikings, and I think how you play a division rival off a bye is often a factor that is used when judging teams as well. And then after that, you've got the Commanders and Eagles. I really think you can say the next 5 games even, are going to be really telling about this team. And then maybe you start adding the Giants after that, depending on where Dart is at. But at least for the vantage point of being able to get a good rain gauge as to where this team is and where they're going to be, I think that you're going to get more of that out of these next 3 to 5 games. And I definitely agree with you. We'll know more at that point. It's just from the data set we have so far, that's again all we have to go off of at this point. But I definitely agree with you that in terms of as they say, contender or pretender, definitely agree that we'll have more information off of which to make that declaration in the next 3 to 5 weeks.
Definitely the second half of their schedule coming. Well, not the second half, but the remainder of their schedule. In terms of good, either historically good teams or just good teams in general that they have left to play, it's the Chiefs, the Buccaneers, the Commanders, the Eagles, the Packers again, the Rams, and the Steelers. They have 7 more tough games on their schedule.
I would still throw the Vikings 2 games in there. I don't like Carson Wentz. I know that the Vikings have been shaky, but going in and playing Minnesota is not an easy thing to do. And they've still got a talented enough team where I still think even the home game in a couple weeks in a division game, the Kevin O'Connell coach team is not going to roll over against a division rival.
Yeah, that's when I look at that kind of 8-game kind of stretch between all those teams. So if I'm looking at those 8 games, to me, if they do anything less than 6-2, I'd be really worried.
Okay, I was going to say 5-3, but 6-2 is fair.
Because the thing is, if they're so good, they should realistically, if they really are that good, like they've been, so far through 5 weeks, then they should win 6 of those 8 games. I'm hoping. I don't and this is not even just being a homer because the Eagles just don't lose in Philly. I mean, today is the exception, but the Eagles always have one bad game in Philly eventually. But I don't think they come into Philly.
Every year you have a trap game, and I think again, I'm not even saying this is a trap game because it's not like Denver's a bad team, but every year you got that one loss that just ends up not being representative of what that team actually is, and I feel like that might have been what we saw today. because I'll get into that in a few minutes because
But before I go on to the Eagles, can I go on to another one of your NFC North rivals that kind of pissed me off today?
Our NFC North rivals,
NFC East rivals, I should say.
Oh yeah,
my bad.
Yeah, what's good? What's good?
Why is the national media saying that Dak Prescott should win MVP right now?
Oh,
why is this a conversation?
It's the stats.
I'm extremely confused. It's the stats against what? The Jets?
It's not even just the stats. Can we be honest about this? It's the media revenue. Can we just be honest about this? The NFL and the networks, especially Fox, and I love Fox. I probably watch Fox Sports more than any other sports network that I watch, except for maybe MLB Network. But they all benefit if Dak Prescott wins the MVP. Excuse me, and again, and I'll also add this. We talk about the teams and the players that are doing the best right now, and you say it's the stats. I mean, in fairness, when you look across the NFL landscape, in terms of, we know it's going to go to a quarterback because it always does. Whether we agree with it or not, we know it's going to go to a quarterback. In passing yards, we've got Matt Stafford, Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert. Like there's and again, depending on how you want to say who it should be. The best passer rating, Lamar Jackson. Now he's down. That usually hurts a quarterback if they miss a quarter of the season. Josh Allen is up there in the top 3. Do we really think after today that he's an MVP guy? I'm sorry, I don't.
I think the only one you can look at right now and say MVP, we just talked about it, is Jared Goff.
That was the name that I was going to say is I mean, we know that I spoke highly of Goff going into the season when we did our fantasy draft thing or quarterback draft, whatever the hell it was. And I think as of right now, in terms of who has actually been, and I know that there's the ongoing, it'll be the evergreen debate between most valuable and best player. But I think
this is why we separate the categories on our show. This is what we're going to do Pro Bowl week.
Yeah, but I think in terms of MVP, he is definitely probably the best argument. But again, I'm looking right now at you say MVP, and Brandon just said it's the stats. What stats? He's 15th in passer rating. He's got 3 interceptions. Most quarterbacks don't even have 2. He's got.
Geno Smith has 9.
When I say it's the stats, it's just because when they talk about quarterbacks, they tend to fall in love with the touchdowns. He's got double-digit touchdowns. That's pretty much.
Oh, okay. You know what? This hasn't been updated for today's games. I just realized that. Okay. This hasn't been updated because it still has him at 6. But again, so I'll still just use this as far as today.
Just anecdotally, it helps.
Like coming into today, he was second in attempts, and the only guy ahead of him that had more attempts has played a whole another game than him, and that's Matt Stafford. So yeah, that's great that you've got passing yards and touchdowns. It's pretty easy to do that when you're throwing the ball more than anybody else in the freaking NFL.
This is why.
Exactly. Thank you.
This is why for years we always tell Dallas fans that Dak Prescott is a stat patter because he is.
Yes.
Because he is. Because when you look at most of the games that either Dallas tries to come back and win or a lot of times when they have to, like, when you look at Dallas games, they're mostly either a shootout, and if they're not a shootout, it's because Dak has to come back and win, and all his numbers come in garbage time.
Yeah. So that's why I use stuff like the EPA stuff, the expected points added, which I know you're not a big analytics guy, but the expected points added, and it allows you to take fragments of so when the game is either completely out of reach or one way or the other, it allows you to completely eliminate that, so you're only seeing what happens when the game's actually hanging in the balance. That's why I like
really extrapolate it out, right? So
yeah, exactly. And that's why I like using things like that because, like you said, and we talked about this with not to change sports, but for a quick second, we talked about this with one of my favorite players in baseball the other day in Aaron Judge. I don't care that you're getting 5 hits if they're singles when we're down 15-2.
Yeah. It's like that's it's like because it's like that's why a lot of people will also say like when we get into this like and this is a whole different this is kind of like a separate topic, but like we get into this whole like analytics versus eye testing. Analytics are when we say analytics, we don't mean numbers. But the thing is, even so, like there used to be the old show on ESPN that was only around for a couple of years called what was it, Numbers Don't Lie, with like Jamel Hill and that stuff. But,
I don't remember that, to be honest.
It was a really short run.
It was only a short run. It was only for maybe like 2 years. Yeah, it was only maybe for like 2 years, that show. But until they booted her off. But
excuse me.
With the whole like numbers don't lie, just like the thing that people will usually say, I hear that so often, numbers don't lie, but they do. When you have to look at where the numbers are coming from. Like it's like with Dak Prescott, stat patter. Aaron Judge so far this postseason, stat patter. Like it's like that's just how
excuse me.
That's just how it's kind of been. Like numbers only tell you. Well, this is why we say on the show and why people should know this. Numbers only tell you half the story. So like Dak has
you gotta watch the games. You gotta watch the games.
You gotta watch the games. But sorry.
I was gonna say Dak's completing 71% of his passes, and he's got double digit touchdowns. He's got 10 touchdowns. He's only 2 behind Goff.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, where is it coming from? It's a lot of stat padding. It's a lot of shootouts. It's a like it's a lot of attempts like that. That's why it's like that's why when I said it's the stats, is because it's like they're gonna look at the completion percentage and the touchdowns and stuff like that. So like
I got you.
So it's like it's just like like to me, if I'm looking at my early MVP like top 2, it's Goff right now, and it's Baker. Yep. Those are my top 2.
Yeah, I'm
in lockstep.
I'd give the same 2 names. The only thing I will say is because I know that being on with WTS with me for a while, which I just want to I'll give a quick shout out to Brandon here because he's been a fantastic co-host.
Go check those guys out, by the way. They've been killing Thursdays before we go on after Thursday night.
Yeah, WTS on Thursday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern, over on the K&K network. But what I was just going to say is, and I know you've heard me say, numbers don't lie on numbers, but and I say the same thing about teams like in Major League Baseball or really teams in any sport. Yeah. When I say numbers don't lie, you still have to know how to read the data and how to use the data. It's like numbers don't lie if you don't let them lie to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
Because you can look at something and interpret it wrong if you have a skewed way of how you're choosing to interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
which is it feels going on with Dak 100%, and that's why I'm frustrated by it.
Yeah, so that's my point because if you look at things that are actually going to eliminate bias for things that have happened already in garbage time or things that happen when he's already down by 30 points or whatever, like if if you're actually seeking objective information, then you'll use that objective information to do your analysis or to extract your conclusions. But if you're actively if you've decided what you're trying to find and then you go and find bias confirming information to support that, then what good is it? So that's why when I say numbers don't lie, I mean it in a slightly different way than that.
Yeah.
I'm only just pointing that out because knowing me, I'll probably use that at least once later in the show. And I just wanted to just mention that that I agree with what you're saying, because when I say that phrase, I also think that sometimes people misinterpret what is meant when it's said, whether it's by me or somebody else.
Yeah,
and I don't mean you. I don't mean you misinterpret it. I mean people who are like watching and listening.
That's what I'm saying. It's like when I see people look at the numbers and they're like, oh well, like we were talking about the whole Aaron Judge thing. Oh, he's got 7 hits in the postseason, most in the postseason right now. I'm like, yeah, how many of those hits have actually mattered? Like, it's like when you're looking at it and saying, oh, well, he's got 7 hits, so he's contributing. It's like that's how you're interpreting it, but that's wrong. Like that's basically wrong.
It's almost like the reverse of the it's like the batting version of what we used to see, the meme that we used to see for the Mets with Jacob deGrom, where it would say, Jacob deGrom has struck out his 15th batter as the Mets now are down 2-0.
Yeah. Like,
Oh my God, yeah.
But that's just how it is.
Sorry for the stray Mets fans.
Yeah, no, I'm not a Mets fan, but that's tough. It's a tough one.
I didn't catch a stray there.
Okay. I don't know how to effectively do this, but well, I'll give Scoop and Brandon both the floor so they can just rant about whatever, because I know this has probably been the worst day of your guys' lives in a lot of ways.
Yeah, quite literally, this has probably been the worst sports day that I can remember in I don't know how long, because
that's what I said.
Yeah, I can't think of a time where both teams back to back have just completely just destroyed the hell out of my psyche.
Brandon said he was a professional depressionist today. I think we almost reminded me with the Mariners. But I guess the way I want to frame this is you guys kind of have fun on both the Yankees and the Eagles. Lead with the Eagles, but you guys can intersperse the Yankees in there, because I think there's actually
first, because we're a football pod.
Also I think there's a lot of comparisons to be drawn between how both of them played. So go ahead, Scoop. I'll let you start, and then Brandon, you can chime in as you like to go.
You also started that sentence with "have fun," which I think was using playing fast and loose with the term "fun." But
no. I mean, at least you guys get to vent.
But here's the thing: when Rob says "have fun," when I hear that, especially after the day that we've had as sports fans today, like when I hear that, I think of it as a rage room where we just go in there and we beat the crap out of everyone.
Yeah, literally.
That's what I'm saying. I am giving you the room. I'm giving you the floor. Go for it.
Which again, props to you for being the one of us out of the three of us that didn't have a horrendous sports day. But
it was almost bad for me. We'll get to it later. That shit was stressful.
So anyway, I'm gonna let me say this. Two things can be true when it comes to the Eagles. There was no excuse to blow the lead, to allow 18 unanswered points in the second half to the Broncos.
In the fourth quarter, not even the second half. Fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter on your own turf, because I said at the end of the second half, I said I've seen too many damn times this team forget that it has to play 60 minutes of regulation football. And I've seen this team, I call it barstool football, because you got three legs. You've got your offense leg, your defense leg, and your special teams leg. And I've seen this team fail to play barstool football so many freaking times, not just this season, but in the past. Even last year when they won the Super Bowl, I saw them fail to do it several times. And so when people were starting to talk to me about the game, I was like, we gotta slow the roll here, because I've seen this picture before. And sure as shit, I watched them go out. They allow 18 unanswered points. Unacceptable. I don't care who you're playing against, especially when you're playing at home. Not something you can do. Not something that you can get away with if you're going to win a Super Bowl. Additionally, 3 damn blown calls is pathetic.
Which were what, I guess, is my question. I'm trying to get into your mind of which ones they were.
The defensive pass interference.
That's fair. I'll give you that one. I was fine with it, but it's fair.
The picked up flag on the intentional grounding.
Which they're allowed to do.
I know that, but they also had not called. It was an example of calls that weren't being made consistently throughout the game. And
okay, that's a fair point. I'm fine with that. That's fair.
Yeah, and while I'm making this point, I also want to say, because I told you there was going to be something that I said that probably surprised you. I saw that this is not just an Eagles thing. I saw this happen, and I hate the New York Giants. Jackson Dart.
Oh my God, the Jackson Dart thing pissed me off.
Jackson Dart got screwed on at the end of the game. I was pissed off for him.
Oh my God! No, I'm sorry to jump in on your guys' segment, but that Jackson Dart thing made me so angry, dude.
Exactly.
I was so angry.
And that's why I'm trying to say, like, this is not me just coming from just being an Eagles fan, because I'm watching it happen to teams I hate, and I'm still pissed off. And
Yeah,
because
I will say the referees being inconsistent in your game is a fair criticism. It's completely fair.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things that bothers me. Like if you're going to be hyper flaggy, then at least be hyper flaggy to both sides. Or if you're going to swallow the whistle, then at least swallow it on both sides.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest issue that I have. If I know that you're calling holding all day and then we get a hold, that's on us for not adjusting to how you're calling it. But if you've had a certain tendency for 3 quarters and then all of a sudden you choose to change it as the clock is winding down in the 4th, then I'm sorry. I don't understand the mentality. People will say, well, you got to play well enough so the refs don't affect you. Then what are the refs there to do if not to make the calls in the big moments?
They're also asked sometimes not to make the calls, which I think is partially what happened on the PI call.
Yeah.
No, I make the calls. I didn't mean that in a literal sense. I meant make the judgments. Is probably what I should have said.
Yeah, no. I don't disagree. I'm just saying, I think part of it is not just the officials, and this is something we talk about every year, especially when it comes to the playoffs and the Super Bowl, when more people are watching. It's that the NFL offices are like, don't make that call in that situation. Don't do this in this situation. And that's where a lot of the inconsistency comes from.
And you asked me for the third one, and I'll say this. There was one call of, and I'm going to admit right now that I don't remember exactly. I don't remember if it was, I don't remember if it was, no, it wasn't roughing the passer. What's the one? I'm blanking on the name right now. It's
unnecessary roughness.
Thank you. Unnecessary roughness.
On Zach Bond, wasn't it?
Yes. Thank you.
That one, okay, so that one is interesting because it's part of, okay, we can get into the officials thing really quick because the inconsistency is not just with that, where I agreed with that call, but you can totally disagree with it. But then on top of that, if you look across the rest of the league, because I think this is kind of a great kind of jumping off point to talk about the officials in general.
Yeah.
Think about especially like the illegal formations we've seen this year.
Yeah.
That always throws me off too, because I'll be point blank about this. I don't understand the illegal formation penalty call at all.
It's most of the time when they throw the flag for that, it's because the last guy on the line who's pretty much a wide receiver is or he's covering up the tight end. So he's basically he's too close to the tight end, or even the tight end is not where he's supposed to be lined up on the line for a certain formation. Because
it's all about how people are lined up, basically.
Yeah. Well, I knew it was about how people are lined up, because I know there's a separate one where it's like you got too many guys on the field. I know there's a separate one for that. But I was just confused as to I don't know that I fully understand on a complete holistic level as to are there a certain number of guys you have to have in this spot or can't have in this spot or whatever?
It is essentially that, but a huge reason why it's being called a lot this year is because, and they talked about this on Sunday night, and then it kind of clicked for me. It's because the officials used to kind of indicate to the players, like the guys on the back end, basically the 2 receivers on the back end or a tight end, like, hey, you're lined up too close, you're lined up too far, whatever. They're not doing that anymore because I think they want the teams and players to figure it out.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I think it's a bad thing to the extent that it's happening in every fucking game we're watching.
Yeah. Thank you for the explanation, by the way, because I didn't see that.
No. I was trying to figure it out too. And then the other, I think the other thing that we're seeing a lot of is a lot of those unnecessary roughness. There's one more that's a little weird. Illegal. Oh no, that's what I wanted to do. Illegal man downfield.
Yeah, that was the next one I was going to mention. Illegal man downfield. I feel like I'm playing Madden with the amount of times it's getting called.
Which also ruined a drive we had where that could have resulted in points for us today.
Yeah.
The illegal man.
I'm coming back to that now because I can't hammer this point home enough. I am not blaming the refs for why we lost today.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that clear. I'm not sitting here and
saying, a microcosm of the loss, essentially.
Yes, exactly. But you have to be more detail-oriented than that in order to go and win against teams like this in the big moments. You're going up against a veteran coach. You're going up against a team that knows that it has to lock in this year. You're going up against a team, that's got a guy now who's gotten his feet wet at quarterback, who's got a highly regarded defense, who's very buttoned up on the interior line. Not interior lines. On the offense and defensive lines, like you are supposed to be. I know that they've gotten banged up on the interior of the offensive line, but and I'll say this: one of my favorite moments of the game was we saw it time and again. They would get knocked back for 2nd and 15, 3rd and 15, and then they would call these stupid ass draw plays up the middle, or they would do friggin' Brandon's favorite thing, and they would just push it out to the side and try and get the 15 yards that way, or even more than that, because typically they were passing it behind the line of scrimmage. But instead,
like
today,
toss sweeps and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But instead, we got to see Jalen drop it back. He hit it. I think it was like I don't remember if it was 17 yards or something like that. But he hit a nice a nice deep throw today. So I'm glad to see some of that coming back into play. But my God, and this is what I meant when I said barstool football, because today it was some of the defense that we were seeing that wasn't making me happy. And what didn't make sense is that what I say last week, I said if we're going to win this game, it's going to be because we make Bo Nix uncomfortable with the pass rush and yada yada. And we started to see some of that. So when I was starting to see some of that, I was like, oh, I really like the position that we're in. But then we started getting messy with the and again, I still think some of the flags were ticky-tack, but nevertheless, we got some very legitimate flags against us as well. And you have to be mindful of that. And when you get a sense of what's being called more or called less for your, for the refs, you got to bake that in. That's got to enter between the ears, because whether you agree with it or not, that's how it's being called, and that's how it's going to be called in the fourth quarter. Now, again, there's a legitimate grievance, I think, if you're calling something in the fourth quarter that wasn't being called in the second, or no calling something in the fourth quarter that was being called in the second. But that was not the extent of everything that was happening today, and it would be biased to claim that it was. And so there's just and again, they did a better job today of clamping down on number 26 than. And I think that this team is still getting adjusted to how to really dominate when they can't just ground and pound it for long stretches of time. So I think that that's still something that they're having to adjust to and having to get used to. But you're going to have to be able to do that, and that's what we said coming into this year. And one of the things
that's the reason why he won the Super Bowl last year. The reason he won the Super Bowl is that.
Well. It's the reason we got to the Super Bowl, and honestly, in the Super Bowl, he wasn't as much of a factor. But
still, it's one of the reasons you guys won the whole thing anyway.
Yeah, but
if not the most crucial one.
Yeah, but again, Hurts today, he actually had to throw the ball a decent amount, and he actually had
a really good game.
Yeah, for everybody who says he can't be relied on as a passer, we only ran the ball 11 times today, and 2 of them were with Jalen himself. And
I apologize for jumping in. Can we please shut up? Can people shut up online about Jalen can't throw? I fucking hate this.
Thank you.
Fuck off. I'm sorry to keep jumping in. This is your guys' segment, but does it anger me?
He was 23 for 38 today, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Against a Broncos defense that was considered one of the best in the game. I don't know what more the hell you want.
It's not.
I'm sorry. I'm hijacking your guys' segment, but seriously, it angers me. It angers me so much. It's stupid.
But it's not even that. You know what makes me the most angry when they say he can't throw is. It's because the offense isn't designed for him to throw 30-plus times a game. That's not what the offense is designed.
Or hell, 40.
But like today, okay, so he completed 60% of his passes, which in today's game is not great. But when you look at how many throws were because a receiver stopped running their route, or because they
I'm sorry. I've been trying to I've been giving him the benefit of the doubt this year. What the hell was AJ Brown on today?
This is where I'm going to lose my mind, because you can't for 4 weeks kind of vaguely, insinuate that how pissed off you are.
Bitch and moan about not getting the ball. And then when
Yeah.
you're asked to be more of a focal point in the offense, you're just, you're caught jacking off on the. I'm sorry, but
it's fine. I've been swearing too today.
Yeah, no, but it's absolutely just it's like it's like when you're at work, and it's like if you're asking, for a bigger promotion or a bigger raise or whatever, and then as soon as you get that, your performance is even worse than it was before. Like it's how do you expect to justify that? And then if you're in there, especially if AJ Brown, like I know people in the locker room are saying this, but especially if AJ Brown is saying, like, oh, I don't know where those rumors are coming from. I don't know where those questions are. If you think this is going to shut up the questions about people saying, his future in Philly, no, that's only going to get louder. That's only going to get more concentrated. It's only going to get more persistent.
He's under what is he? He's under contract, I think, for the next what, 4 years, 2, 3, 4 years. Like,
let me look right now. Give me one moment here.
Here's the problem. Is like, when you look at, he's trying to say that the route that he stopped running on, which would have been a perfect deep shot for a touchdown, which they've completed multiple times in the past. And he's saying that it was basically a miscommunication between him, like, because Jalen did like a little shoulder fake. I'm like, bro, do you know how many times he's like, oh, because Jalen did a shoulder fake, and I wasn't quite, we weren't quite on the same page for where the ball is supposed to be.
I don't even like that answer, because that to me is sounding like you're deferring accountability back to the quarterback.
Thank you, because this is where I'm going with this. You can't put that on Jalen when, first of all, that play, when that play is called, because guys know what play is designed mostly for them, if they're the primary receiver. He was the primary target on that play. Why? And so the ball is going to be coming to you pretty much as long as you are open. Jalen saw you open. Now, A.J. Brown never, hardly ever stops running his route. But this year, for some reason, the first 5 games, he's been half-assing it for 5 games. I've been watching it. He's been literally half-assing this for 5. And what's funny is he said at the Super Bowl that he's hungrier than ever. It sure as shit doesn't look like it through 5
weeks. He doesn't look hungrier than ever. He looks like he could go 3 days without eating.
He looks like he just wants water and nothing else, like I'm drinking.
And the
I can use some water right now.
Watching that deep ball, it's like he slows up when he got to the last defender, which was the safety over the top. If you know that he's the last defender and that play is not over yet, keep running, because Jalen's looking for you, because you should be having a walk-in touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
He slows down as he sees the safety right next to him. Bro, keep fucking running. What are you doing? It's like, and then it's like literally as the throw's going up, I'm like, oh my God, he's got to have someone open. I see the ball come down. I'm like, oh, AJ's in the area. AJ's going to get to it. And at first, because we didn't see him stop, on the live feed, something, Hurts missed him by 5 yards. No, AJ Brown stopped for about half a second, and that's where they got messed up. Because if he doesn't stop for that half a second, it's a perfect dot over his shoulder, and it's a walk-in.
It felt like it was more like 10 to 15 yards, Brandon, not 5, which makes it worse.
And on top of that, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but on top of that, if you want the ball more, if that's what you're all tense in the ass about, is that you're not getting the ball enough. Do you think that dicking around on your assignments when you get them is the way to convince the offense to get you the ball more? Are you dumb in the head?
Because you know who actually had a perfect game today, but because besides Jalen, like I was saying to Rob, I put it in the chat, there's only 2 guys who I cared about today that played well: Jalen and Devontae Smith.
Yep.
Because Devontae Smith today never gave up on a route, never gave up on a play, fought for extra yards. You know what happened? He had over 100 yards receiving today.
Can I add something to that real quick? We were talking a little while ago. I think you're the one who mentioned it in Buffalo. We were talking about how I think you're the one who said that the one who got the most receiving yards in Buffalo or receiving something like that was the tight end. Kincaid.
Yeah, Kincaid.
Well, look at our receiving game today. Who were the 2 guys who got receiving touchdowns? Saquon, our running back, and Dallas Goedert, our tight end. We didn't have a
Yeah.
receiver today get a receiving touchdown.
Yeah, but on top of that, like, Jalen was still spreading the ball around. AJ still had his targets. He also stopped running around. That would have been a touchdown. Devontae Smith over 100 yards receiving.
I want to check real quick. I want to see what because I always pull up every weekend the rates of like targets to receptions. I want to pull up what it was for AJ. Give me one second. Go ahead.
Really quick. I don't know if you guys can see this on the phone, but the Hail Mary where AJ blocked.
Yeah, where AJ basically mugs Devontae Smith, who would have had a touchdown. Yeah.
Thank you to NFL Memes IG for this. Which is an amazing account, by the way. And also, look at them freaking playing Twister on the damn. They're literally lying there playing freaking Twister. Thank you, NFL Memes IG. Love this guy's content, by the way.
When I saw that ball go up in the air, I was like, "Oh, that ball's going out of the back of the end zone." And when I see it come down, I'm like, "Oh my god, AJ and Smitty are right there." And then I'm like, "Why are you both going up for the ball? You're literally gonna mug each other." Like, first of all, like, honestly, in that situation, I understand that AJ wants to make a play. I understand that. But 9 times out of 10, do you know who the more short-handed receiver is? It's Devontae Smith. So, because how many times do we see a ball get thrown AJ's way and it gets knocked out of his hands on tight coverage or something like that? Yeah. That was Devontae Smith's ball 9 times out
all day long.
Like if he just does not mug him for the ball, Devontae Smith not only catches that, he comes down, toe taps inbounds, game over, Eagles win.
You know what that play reminded me of? There was a play I want to say it was the Texans game last week where a guy literally I don't remember what the play was, but a guy literally ran into his own teammate on a blocking assignment and completely blew the play up.
Yeah, like
that was the Texans O-line. You guys probably remember what I'm talking about.
Oh, that was last week.
Yeah,
that's what I said.
The Titans, or was it against the Titans last week? They literally ran into each other, and the guy blasted right through.
Yeah,
that's
and you know what's funny is too, as everybody talks about the completion percentage for Jalen wasn't great today, but guess what? That Hail Mary, perfect throw. The deep ball to AJ Brown where he slowed up, perfect throw. The one where Dallas Goedert stopped running his route because he turned the wrong way, perfect throw. The miss to Jahan Dotson where Dotson didn't keep his feet in bounds, perfect throw. Like those were all perfect throws that should have been caught.
And that's why tomorrow, when everything gets updated today statistically, I'm going to go on Pro Football Reference and I'm going to look and I'm going to see what was the on-target throw rate for Jalen Hurts. What was the drop rate for his receivers? Because I'm looking at Pro Football Focus right now, and AJ Brown, 8 targets, 5 receptions. And this somewhat more surprising, which I didn't even pick up on, Dallas Goedert, 9 targets, 3 receptions.
Dallas Goedert was rough because a lot of times he just wasn't in the right, for some reason today, he was not in the right position to catch the ball.
Well, and that was another thing, and that's why earlier when I was talking about like details and whatnot, because I got a lot of things to say about AJ Brown. I got a lot of things to say about, I already obviously talked about earlier about the stuff that I already spoke about, but again, if you're not, one of the reasons why they won the rings they've won is because they were very precise when they needed to be.
Yeah,
and this kind of feels a little more Russell Westbrook-y, just playing with your hair on fire with no crispness to the details whatsoever.
Yeah, like it's just
perfect NBA preseason reference.
Now, like because everybody's comparing this team right now, right? This 2025 team to the 2023 team, and here's why this is different. I get the similar kind of sentiment, the frustrations, but
I don't get it. But go on.
But here, because they're saying because the offense is stale and it's not, and there's no creativity in the offense like 2023. There's no motion. There's no like they don't know how to use their players, and they're just running the same 3, 4, 5 plays on offense over and over and over every drive. So that's and they're saying because the defense now is having to barely hang on to try to win games late. But I'm like, here's the difference. The defense is way better this year than it was in 23. Yeah. And not just that, but Jalen's also not making the same stupid risks that he was in 2023. And,
yeah, no.
And it's like Jalen Hurts does not have an interception yet this year. Do people understand this? He's got 7 passing touchdowns right now. I think it did update on Google. It didn't update where you're looking at, but it updated on Google. He's got 7 passing touchdowns right now, and no interceptions. And
I was going to say, he hasn't thrown a pick yet, has he?
He hasn't thrown a pick yet. And today, I even said today, like I was making a joke because I knew the Eagles game was over. They weren't going to score at the end there, even though they should have. I was like, oh, this Jalen Hurts, back-breaking first interception of the season is going to hit like a brick to the teeth.
Yeah, I saw it, which freaked the hell out of me because I didn't have the game on at that moment. I don't remember why, but I didn't have the game on at that moment, and I thought you were saying that he had thrown a pick, and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
But I even had to double take because I'm watching Red Zone. I'm not watching I'm not watching every play like you guys are because I'm watching all these other 5 games.
I had Red Zone on. That's why.
But do you want to like right now through 5 games? 7 TDs, no picks, 67% completion percentage, and a 101.3 passer rating.
And once again, that leaves out what he's accomplished on the ground.
And so if you were to extrapolate this over, because remember we're basically roughly a third of the way through the season. Do you know what he would be? Right. Do you know what he would be on pace for if you basically took this and times and multiplied it by 3, because that's basically 15 games.
That'd be 21 touchdowns.
It would be 21 touchdowns. It would be. I mean, listen, the yardage would not be great, but it would be, if you did the math, it would be, let's see, 889. If we did 889,
that'd be around 2,600.
So 2,600. But then you also got to count. Remember that last year that was roughly kind of what he did last year, but that's because he missed the last 2 or 3 games of the season. So
that and freaking Saquon was just eating like Pac-Man back there.
Yeah. So if he keeps playing this way and they're asking him to throw more, he could basically end up. We're saying 21. That's through 15 weeks. So he would end up somewhere in the high 20s, low interceptions. He doesn't take many risks with the ball. He doesn't have to, nor should he. The passer rating would be over 100. Like, he would be an all-pro caliber quarterback. Like, people don't understand that he's not. But and you also got to factor in the rushing touchdowns this year, what he said, and the rushing yards. So I never want to hear that Jalen Hurts, that because he doesn't throw for 40 touchdowns a year and 4,000 yards, that he's quote unquote nothing more than a game manager. I don't want to hear that bullshit because it's not true. Like today, because today, who showed up on that field on that offense besides Devontae Smith? Jalen Hurts. Do you know who usually shows up for Eagles in the biggest of stages and the biggest of games? Jalen Hurts. Like, do you know whose completion percentage for a guy that said is just a running back? Do you know who's always ending up in the top 5, top 10 completion percentage every season? Jalen Hurts. Do you know who usually has a high pass rating in the hundreds? 3 of the last 4 years? Jalen Hurts. Why are we sitting here and saying that he is part of the problem when he's not?
I also want to add something today because we have these two teams going up against one another, and we talk about how they kind of. They can go neck to neck when it comes to the trenches. Jalen Hurts got sacked 3 times more than did Bo Nix, 6 sacks to 2 sacks. So I also think it warrants being said that I do think that the offensive line is a little shakier now than I think we wanted to. Yeah. Than I think we wanted
it's to. Not. And that's why I can kind of understand why. In this game, they abandoned the run because if they can't run when the line has all their guys out, has all their guys on it this season, like in the first 2 weeks, they had all their guys healthy. They couldn't run the ball then. Yeah, they're not going to run the ball now with having 2 or 3 backups in there on that line. I mean, at one point, and no one even this wasn't even talked about during the game. They never mentioned it, but Lane Johnson came out again.
Yeah, that's bad.
Every week. What the hell's going on?
Also, I keep pointing in the wrong direction, but it's because I'm looking at you to my right, but for some reason I have to point to my left to get you. This mirror camera thing is so weird.
Yeah.
But Brandon, you were asking me earlier when AJ Brown's contract expires. It's after 2029.
That's what I figured. Yes. So we have this. So we have this year. We have 26, 27, 28. So we literally have. Well, and I don't have this year. 4 more years.
4.5 years left of this guy.
Like, the thing is, if he like, I understand. Listen, I understand wide receivers are can be divas, but you are a guy who's been your entire Philly career putting up all pro numbers. You have a Super Bowl ring. Why can't you just keep your mouth shut and do your job?
Yeah, like what has suddenly changed? It's not like he just got paid this offseason. He got paid a year ago.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you're not in a contract dispute. You're in an offense that literally just won a Super Bowl last year. Your quarterback and your wide receiver, your second wide receiver, your teammate, the three of you have been through hell and back together already in your Eagles careers. AJ Brown would have a Hall of Fame trajectory if he just like this season is just mind-boggling to me because you can't say that you're hungrier this year because like we see that Jalen Hurts is hungrier this year. We see it in his play. We haven't seen that out of AJ Brown yet. Like that's my problem is that AJ says he's hungry. Show me it. You're taking plays off every week, and especially towards the end of games when you need to not be taking plays off the most. So, like, you're saying that you're hungry. You're saying you want more. It starts with you. And then today, you're saying out in the post game, you're kind of talking about what went wrong on that deep shot where you guys miscommunicated. Like it was not a miscommunication. You stopped running on your route. America saw it. Twitter.
Yeah, I hated that. I didn't hear the answer until you relayed it, but the second you said it, I was just like, "That is not the answer I want to hear."
You know what's funny? I mean, cut you off, but when I watched that route back, and he's saying stuff like about like the pump fake, I'm like, he's been your quarterback for years now. And it's not just the quarterback. You guys have been friends since college.
Was that a full pump? Was that a full pump? I don't think it was a full pump.
I mean,
was it?
But the thing is, to me, what I'm getting at here is, your quarterback's tendencies. This is a guy you've been friends with since you were 17, 18 years old. This is a guy who is he's the godfather to your daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this is a guy who you should know, like it's your wife. You're pretty much. So what I don't understand is you're saying that there's miscommunication on that. How?
Well, I guess my question is, how else is he supposed to explain it?
Just take accountability and say
yeah, just say it. It was a misstep. It was a whatever. Like
because most receivers and quarterbacks just say it's a miscommunication to sidestep it in most cases.
But you know what it is too? It's like he took accountability for like what he had said on social media after last week. He took accountability for that. But it's like everybody in America, hell, I mean, even the reporters asking you the questions, they know that you stopped running your route, and we saw it. Like, can you just say that you didn't realize that?
I think it was over. Rob, I think for me, it's just in the shadow of the fact that Hurts will always fall on the sword for his teammates. I think that we would just like to see that AJ Brown once in a while would stick up for his quarterback. I think is kind of where
I hear that.
And you know why you know why that makes me madder? Because did you see the thing I sent you about what Saquon said?
Yep.
Yeah.
Saquon had the perfect answer. Perfect.
You can read it if you'd like.
Yeah. I could not have imagined saying this 18 months ago. Saquon, I think, might be my favorite Eagle at this point.
Yeah, he said, here it is, from Zach Berman, who's a good Philly.
Love Zach Berman.
And he said, this is what Saquon said. I don't really know what you want. If I touch the ball too many times, we're not throwing enough. If we throw it too much and I only have 9 touches, I'm not in the business of what are we doing enough. I'm in the business of winning football games. We didn't win the football game. With 9 touches, we had the opportunity to win the football game still. We weren't detailed enough, too many mistakes, too many penalties. Why can't A.J. Brown ever give an answer like that?
Can I have a slight problem with that, which is not a problem at Saquon directly. It's more at Petula, which, again, we always get back to Petula. It's like, dude, you need to give this guy 20 carries because he's Saquon Barkley. He's not a random running back you found on the street. It's mind-boggling.
I do think, in the sense of today, probably my guess is that some of that today had to do with the O-line volatility.
That
no,
line
I
was
hear
banged
that,
up.
yeah.
Because again,
But it's Saquon. This is Saquon.
No, I know that it's Saquon, but again, we've talked in the past about last year. What were the not the naysayers, but like the skeptics saying about Saquon was like oh, how is this injury stuff gonna hold up? My guess is that they probably were thinking, okay, well, putting Saquon run heavy behind an O-line this banged up is probably not a recipe for doing something great for this offense long term the rest of the season. So my guess is that there was some consideration of that.
You know what's funny this year is like we talk about him in the running game, which is obviously where we want to see. It's a running back. We want to see him get his opportunities in the running game. But
using that
a lot of people don't realize this. He's been fantastic in the passing game. This year.
Yep.
He's been fantastic because when they've gotten him the ball in space and he's had a couple of yards, he doesn't even need like 5 yards. If you get him the ball in space so far this year, which they've done a lot, and he has at least a 2 or 3 yard head start, he's getting at least 5-6 yards out of that play, if not more. And here's one thing I like today, and this is kind of what I want to see going forward. We were talking about how the play calling looked different between the first half of the Rams game and the second half of the Rams game, right? And we were saying that and there, you could see, and the thing is, if you look closely, you could see in the second half of the Rams game, Jalen was more vocal with the offense, and you could see Jalen doing different hand motions and head nods and movements to tell his guys, hey, go here, go there, line up here, line up there, check out of a play, check into a play, whatever it was, right? So I love that the team after that game said, oh no, Kevin Patullo was still calling the play. I'm like, yeah, sure he was. I could see it with my own eyes. And then you look at today. Saquon today, when they asked him about the touchdown pass that Hurts threw him, they're like, that play was creative. How did that play come about? They basically asked him, or who called that? And he said, oh no, Jalen audible to that play. Jalen called that play. I'm like, huh? Jalen called that play as a touchdown? Can we please have our quarterback do what Peyton Manning does and call his own plays at this point? Because I have no faith in Kevin Patullo.
You want Hurts to be your OC and your quarterback at this point.
Because when Peyton Manning did it, it worked. Like when great quarterbacks in the past have called it, like Drew Brees, I think even at one point used to call it. I mean, he work on it with Peyton, but Peyton would also defer.
But Peyton also trusted him a ton to do that. Same with Peyton's coaches.
I'm at the point now where it's like, this guy just won a Super Bowl MVP, has been a runner-up for MVP. This guy is a winner. Even Nick Sirianni says after every press conference, after every game, oh, my quarterback's a winner. Our quarterback does what it takes to win. So if you are giving him this much praise, let him be vocal in this offense. Give him plays to call for himself. Let him have the ball in his hands. Because you know what's funny? Between that Rams game and between today with that touchdown pass, and I've seen it before, when Jalen's gone off script and just let the game come to him and called his own number and called plays, they end up in big plays or they end up in touchdowns. I want that, because I've seen it. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand why they won't take the handcuffs off my quarterback and let him do what he has to do. Because I've seen it, and because who gave him freedom in the offense. Do you remember why Jalen was a runner-up for MVP in 2022? Because Shane Steichen was calling the plays, right? But did you notice how a lot of that was also too? Do we remember Jalen Hurts with the hand movements a lot throughout that season? They let him kind of freely dictate the offense. They gave him they're like, okay, we're gonna run RPOs and whatever. We're going to simplify it for you, but we're also going to say, hey, if you want to check to this play or that play, you can. Because I remember a lot of times there was games where the reason why Jalen Hurts was successful in 2022, playing like an MVP caliber quarterback, let him control the offense. It was Shane Steichen's input, but they let him control the offense. They let him, kind of make his reads instead of making him lock into one read or whatever it was. Like, it was different. They made it easier on him, yes, but he was allowed to kind of have free reign with that offense and do what he wanted to do and move it around and call for different motions and change. What's funny too, and we talk about how Jalen's also good at beating the blitz. But do you ever notice that on the plays where you can see when a blitz is coming from a defense, do you ever see how Jalen, now a lot, like quarterbacks are supposed to be able to do this, but Jalen does this, I think, more than I've seen any other quarterback do it. He will change the protection. He will literally, call a hard count so he can find the guy that's blitzing, whether it's this linebacker over here or this safety over here. He will literally do that every single time there's a blitz called so he can try to slide the protection or try to check into a different play or just try to, just a simpler play.
Did Brandon disconnect? He might have. Anyway, but yeah, no, that's the issue. A lot of it is Patullo, Scoop, because I mean,
yeah,
it's what Brandon said. It's just like the play calls aren't getting to where it needs to go, and then obviously it's not having the leeway either.
No, it's like you're play calling as if you're one of these teams that's like a young quarterback and a lot of holes on your roster. You're not play calling as if you've got a top 3, top 4 roster in the NFL, which you do. Even after the guys you lost this offseason, I would take this roster over, I would say, 30 rosters in the NFL probably. And I think most people would agree with that. And so why you're calling plays as if you've got you're trying to limit how much each person has to do. No, you should be making it you should be giving each person as much, leeway is not the right word, but as much, autonomy to, contribute as possible. And it feels like the exact opposite is what's going on here. And I'm not only do I not agree with it, I don't follow the logic of that at all. And I a couple of years ago, we had Nick Sirianni, when he first deferred to Shane Steichen, not deferred, but first gave play calling over to Shane Steichen. And if that's what's going on here with Kevin Patullo, I kind of think that it should be the reverse, where Nick Sirianni should reassume play calling responsibilities. Either that, or give it to somebody else on the offense, or like Brandon was saying, I keep going in the wrong direction. Or like Brandon was saying, you get basically just elevate Hurts and empower Hurts to kind of be the the baby sheriff, if you want to call him that.
There we go.
Welcome back. But just kind of be in that position to, and then if you're asking me, am I living or dying with Kevin Patullo running the offense? Am I living or dying with Nick Sirianni running the offense? Or am I living or dying with Jalen Hurts running the offense? I love and respect Coach Sirianni. I think he's one of the most underrated coaches in football. I'm living or dying with Jalen Hurts running that offense.
Thank you.
I'll be honest, guys. The more we see this, the more I think Patullo is getting fired, at least by the bye week. I can totally see it.
Did you also see in the pregame, Jalen Hurts was warming up today. Patullo was trying to talk to him about something, and Jalen Hurts literally was spinning the ball on his hand, about to throw it, I guess, to someone 10 yards on the field, those warm-up tosses.
Yeah.
In full pads. Patullo's in his ear talking about something, and Jalen's going like this. If Jalen is shaking his head like that at Kevin Patullo, and this has been happening now for multiple weeks.
You know what that reminds me of? Do you guys remember a few years ago, and I don't know, maybe this didn't go as viral as I thought it did, but do you guys remember a few years ago, the Cleveland Browns, they had a coach named Freddie Kitchens.
Yep.
And Jesus Christ.
And Baker Mayfield was sitting on the bench, and Kitchens was doing whatever, and then he leaned over and he was mic'd up or something, and he goes, "That guy's an idiot." That's exactly the kind of vibe that I get.
I do remember that. Was that during Hard Knocks, or that was after? No, that was not even Hard Knocks.
That was during a game, I'm pretty sure.
We've already seen a as controlled as Jalen is, what a crash out is for him is not what a crash out is for other people. But we've already seen Jalen Hurts literally sit down Kevin Patullo like he's a child on the bench and tell him, "Hey, pick this shit up because we're not doing anything correctly here."
Yeah.
So we saw that in the Rams game, and then I mean, we didn't see much of it last week, but then again this week, we see him shaking his head in pregame. If these things are happening, what does that tell you about this offense?
Here's the thing that I'll add, because Rob was just talking about how he could see Patullo not making it through the bye week. Need I remind y'all that back in 2023, it was, I'm trying to think, it was maybe halfway through the season or just a little bit more. They made a transition on the heels of having started, I think they started the season like 11-1 or something.
10-1.
And they made, sorry?
10-1.
10-1. And they made a transition on the defensive side from Sean Desai to Matt Patricia. Now, that was, I think, one of the dumbest moves in recent history, but they made that transition after having started 10-1. So I don't think that anybody should think that anything's off the table with this Eagles team in terms of making changes. If they think this team is, I think if there's any team that would make a change mid-season, regardless of their record, I think that the Eagles would not hesitate to do so at all.
And it's because it's like the one thing I will say about today that's positive outside of the play of Devontae and Jalen is, I mean, listen, was it good offensively? No. Was it good for it being the Broncos defense? Yeah, I think it was all right. But but the thing is, it's hard for me to give praise to Patullo when that bar is so ridiculously low. Like, it's like, did you just pass gas? I think I heard that, bro.
You gotta watch out. What are you doing?
Oh my god! Because, bro, the only time you're ever getting up to go like this is
dude, we're in the middle of a show. What are you doing?
I think I heard it too. I heard a little. I was like, oh my god. You know what though? That's how I feel about the Eagles' offense. So good enough.
Yeah.
But like, it's just like I look at it. God, now I lost my train.
God damn it, Scoop.
But but when it comes to this offense, like today was the first time I saw like a consistent, at least Kevin Patullo through 4 quarters. The problem is it still wasn't good.
Right.
So like that's like, I just, and listen, and on the flip side of things, I will never attack Vic Fangio, and this is not an attack on him, but he called the same defense for most of this game today, and I don't understand why he made no adjustments. It was still a soft shell zone the entire game. Why? That didn't make
it. And here's another thing that I'll add to that, because you were just talking about earlier about how Buffalo should have known Stephon Diggs and yada yada yada. I know that they all weren't there, but Vic Fangio was there when some of those guys on this team were in Denver. So you want to talk about personnel you should have known. If there's any team other than Miami that Vic Fangio should know, it's Denver.
Yeah, that's like they even showed it later in the game. I think when we were up 17-10 on the second drive, basically as Denver was moving down the field, and they were literally mapping. Romo was mapping it out on the telestrator. He was like, "Oh yeah, you see that defense again? They're back in soft shell zone." And he's like, "Oh, they've been in this zone coverage all game." I'm like, why is it all game?
I obviously I never liked Tony Romo as a Denver or God help me, Dallas quarterback. But I think he's a good announcer.
He's great.
But also, like you were saying, and I'll jump back also to this, because I was talking about the O-line issues and the trenches issues. God help me, the Eagles tried to run the ball 11 times today. They managed all of 45 yards between 4 different guys.
Yeah.
So they just, that I think was a big source of the problem, is that because of their O-line being banged up, they just could not get anything going in the running game. And I think that some of the difficulties adjusting, I think sometimes came back to that. Again, not an excuse, but I think that there's an important differentiation to be made between an excuse and an explanation.
And I'm also not understanding why, last year was Saquon mostly, but it was mixed in with Kenneth Gainwell on the times he would come out of the game.
Yeah.
This year, I don't understand why it almost feels like a running back by committee through 5 weeks, where it's Saquon for 6 to 8 carries, then it's AJ Dillon for 4 or 5, and it's Will Shipley for 2 or 3. Why? That makes no sense to me. Like, and the thing is, don't get me wrong, I like Will Shipley, but he should not be getting more than maybe 1 to 2 touches in a game, not 3 or 4.
Well, he did only get 1 touch today, according to this thing. But
Yeah, I mean, there was plays where he might not have gotten a touch, but he was on the field instead of Saquon Barkley, like where Saquon Barkley would be in the shotgun next to Jalen, and I'm like,
maybe were they trying to do decoy?
I guess, but then that's
still dumb.
That's the wrong guy to decoy with. Like,
it's. I'm just trying to kind of parse through potential things.
Well, it's like don't get me wrong. Like when AJ Dillon touched the ball today, a lot of his runs were positive. A lot of him was like a. So I'm fine if you want to use Saquon as the first and second down back, and then when you get towards like maybe like the 35, 30 yard line right before the red zone, right as you get towards that territory, then you mix in AJ Dillon on like a 2nd and 2, a 3rd and 1, and you give him the ball because he can plow right through the line. But he should not be used on like 1st and 10 to run the ball, 2nd and 6. And they did that a little bit today, and they've kind of been doing that. Like, I don't understand why. Saquon's not out of breath. You just not know how to use him. So you're or are you overthinking it to where, okay, so they're going to stack the box against Saquon, so maybe if we throw AJ Dillon and Will Shipley out there to run the
that's part of where my mind went, because again, I still think that only 5 weeks off the Super Bowl, I still think teams are coming in with the mentality that plan A and B is to stop Saquon at whatever it costs. So my guess is my guess is that that's part of it, because again, they involved Saquon in the receiving game today. He went 3 receptions for 58 yards, averaged almost 20 yards per reception, and got a touchdown. He had the second longest reception on the field today, aside from Devontae Smith. So I think that there might be some element of that as well, where maybe because of, and maybe some of it's tied to the AJ Brown shit, where they're kind of trying to, shift him into maybe more of a, I don't know if utility role is the right word, but, sort of like a back, like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like the kind of back that they used back in Indy when Coach Sirianni and Coach Steichen were both back in Indy. Obviously Steichen's in Indy again, but with all of that, so I do kind of wonder if that plays a role in it as well, because they're using him, in both sides of the game now. Maybe that's why they're elevating some other guys in the running game a little bit more. But I still agree that only 6 touches for Saquon today is rough.
Brutal.
Even though I do agree with that, pumping the brakes on putting him behind an O-line that has absolutely nothing up the middle. When he's largely, let's also keep this in mind, this is not a guy who's like a shifty back that's going to go, cut out way to the left and then take it up the side. This is a guy who's going to go up the middle, who's going to fight for every yard physically and whatever. So when you're doing that, and you're doing that through gaps that are held together by Swiss cheese, I can understand the trepidation about, doing that consistently with a guy who only last year had his first fully healthy season in I don't know how long.
This is
when
I look at when I'm looking at this offense, right? I told you guys this in the chat, but I want to kind of expand on it a little bit.
Yeah.
When we're talking about how to fix this Eagles offense, do you know what made them so good between the year in 2022 and then the year last year? It was the use of creative motions to get guys open. And it wasn't
you mentioned this earlier,
it was the usage of RPOs, quick throws, and the thing is, quick throws that would, so whenever their running game did struggle, it was the quick throws that would get you 6, 7, 8 yards that would set up the run, because they would running lanes.
Not the damn quick throws behind the line of scrimmage.
So that's the problem is on 1st and 10, you're not being creative when you're lining up pretty much all your guys on the line, Hurts under center or in the shotgun, and you're just snapping it, handing it to Saquon into a stacked box. That's wrong. So if you want to fix this offense, listen. And Jalen can let it rip today. We saw that. It's on the receivers today, not him. But if you want to get the offense as a whole in rhythm, because Jalen doesn't need to. Jalen's fine. You want to get the receivers, like if you want to get A.J. Brown in rhythm, get Devontae in rhythm. Devontae was great today, but if you want to get him in rhythm too, like what made them Super Bowl contenders and basically Super Bowl participants in 2022 and last year was creative motion to get them open. Creating mismatches by using that motion, doing kind of like a fake handoff and then reversing field on a motion play where there was like, okay, so it's like you have a guy coming across the line of scrimmage, you fake the handoff with Saquon, that receiver is open, or you have the tight end who's lined up on the line, and he leaks out down the middle of the field for a strike down the seam. So you can pick and choose. You can flip it back to kind of like the Saquon, a fake handoff who's going to run up the field. You can give it to Dallas Goedert, who's right over the middle of the field, who's coming off the line as a fake blocker to get open behind the defense in a soft zone. Or you can give it to the guy that's motioned across. Or hell, even if you can motion across, do a hard count and kind of motion across, motion the guy back across the other way to break up that defense. It creates mismatches and it creates motion and fluidity for the offense. So, and that's what Kellen Moore did. That's what Shane Steichen did. That's why in those years the offense was top 10 in both seasons. Both seasons, top 10 offenses. This year, this is why you're sitting near the bottom 10, because there's no motion. Or the motion is just a decoy and nothing else. That receiver's doing nothing else but running cardio across the offensive line. Or it's just you're not disguising the play. There's no deception within the play. It's like when you're running out of a pistol formation and all you're doing is pistol formation, turn around, handing it off to Saquon, letting him run to a stacked box. Doesn't work. Or you have Hurts under center. Huge, basically single back formation with two guys. AJ split out wide on one side, Monte on the other. You're not throwing the ball out of that formation. You're running it. The defense knows that because there's not many pass plays you can pull off with that formation. So, when you're constantly running the same formations and the same plays, and then you're wondering why Saquon can't get going, or why AJ can't get going, or why AJ's complaining about touches, it's all because your offense is not creative enough. It's vanilla. It's a problem.
It's stagnant.
You're not, and thank you, it's stagnant, and you're not getting any of the guys in rhythm. So that way, when they finally do have a deep shot, they have to make a contested catch, or they have to make a hell of a play out of a broken play, or they have to kind of go off script, which is something they're not used to doing because they don't have that same confidence in the offense because the play calling is so terrible that it's like these are all problems that this offense is going through, and it's like everybody's wondering how to fix it. How to fix it is you have to get creative with your offense. What are the
No, go ahead, Scoop. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Finish this off so we can go on to an even worse team.
I just want to add something. We mentioned earlier in the show that there's a team that almost beat the Bills in Buffalo last week and that got their first win today by 2 touchdowns. Who is this team? The New Orleans Saints.
New Orleans?
Who's their head coach?
Who coaches the New Orleans Saints? Mr. Kellen Moore, the same guy that left Philly after this last season. These two things are not unrelated in any stretch. And I think they're much more closely related than a lot of people are giving credit for. So I'm not saying that we can't get this back on track without Coach Moore, but it's clear that whatever Coach Moore's secret sauce was, not a single drop of it rubbed off anywhere near Kevin Patullo.
And then you also understand this too. Who's the head coach in Indy? Who's 4-1 in Indy with Daniel Jones at quarterback? Shane Steichen. So, this is why I'm saying that. I love what Sirianni does for this team. I love that he fires them up. I love Super Bowl winning coach. He trusts. The problem is though he trusted Kellen Moore. He trusted Shane Steichen, but he also trusted Brian Johnson too much, and he trusted Kevin Patullo so far, and it's not working.
It's not working, yeah.
So,
it's the thing that I can differentiate there is that it seems like Kevin Try again. It seems that Nick Sirianni has a great eye for bringing in veteran guys. It doesn't seem like he's got as much strength when it comes to actually developing internal talent.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. No, it's awful. It's really bad. It's really bad, yeah.
And the thing is, this has been a problem in Philly even back to the Andy Reid days.
It's a problem across the whole NFL. We need to stop hiring internally. It's really stupid.
I'm not in any way saying this is just a Nick Sirianni thing. I'm just saying that when you look at those four guys, there is a noticeable split between the guys that he was able to identify and then bring in. Because, again, let's not pretend – I mean, there were a lot of people who thought that Kevin Moore was a washed guy who didn't deserve another job. So being able to identify talented guys from other teams is still a very important thing to be able to do. So I'm not knocking him for that at all.
I love it though. It's good though.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that's a good thing. But sometimes people are better at identifying talent than they are at developing it internally, and it just doesn't seem like when it comes to developing coach. And again, Bill Belichick was not good at developing assistant coaches, so that does not make you a bad coach just because you don't develop good assistant coaches. But I do think that these next hires, whenever the Patillo Eagles marriage is severed, I do think it's not only a good idea, I think that it's paramount, and I think it's vital that they do some experience, that they look and see what's working for teams and offenses that are outside of the organization, and try and pull a young. Maybe even you look to the college ranks. I don't know, but but I would highly advise them not to try and go from within the well again when they decide to move on from the Patillo situation.
Brandon, finish off your point because
just to piggyback off of Scoop's point, but and this kind of goes back to a whole, kind of a Jalen Hurts thing, but also like we talk about how Baker Mayfield's had different OCs in his career and whatnot, and
the fact that Jalen Hurts has had 9 so far throughout college.
I think he's had 9 since college.
Yeah, I think Hurts is the only one. I think Mayfield's the only one who's had more than Hurts.
And I don't even think it's more. It's just more in the NFL. But I think overall between college and the NFL, no one's had more than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, so it's rough.
So people keep saying, they want consistency out of Jalen Hurts. You're getting consistency out of Jalen Hurts. You're not getting consistent play calling with the Eagles offense. That's the problem.
You're not getting consistent OCs, yeah.
So it's like, the next guy, whoever the next guy is for the Eagles OC, has to stay here for more than a year. And not just for more than a year. It's got to be outside the franchise. But, Vic Fangio came here. He's close to home. But he even said, he's like, I'm not leaving here. This is my last stop in the NFL. I'm going to be here until I can't anymore, which I love that from him because that means he's never leaving. And I love the defense.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But I want the same thing on the offensive side of the ball. I want like what the Chiefs had for years in Eric Bieniemy, right? And how good those offenses.
Man, which by the way, talk about a name that fell off the face of the earth. Remember when everybody was saying he was a shoo-in to get a head coaching job?
Yeah,
where is he now? Because he was at UCLA for a while and whatever.
I'm trying to think. I think he might still be. No, he's the running back coach for the Bears.
Oh my God!
I forgot that he's the running back coach for the Bears. Not doing a terrible job. Do you guys mind if finish up, Brandon?
No, yeah, but that was gonna be my last point. It's how good they were, but they had consistency with him at that position, being the OC. He was there for a long time. He was a 2-time Super Bowl champion. They won a lot with him. That's my point, is that whoever comes in for the Eagles, you just had a Super Bowl last year, but every year, Jalen Hurts, basically for every year more or less, except for between 21 and 22, Jalen Hurts has had a different offensive coordinator. And even then in 21, Nick Sirianni didn't want to give Shane Steichen full control of the team until it was almost too late in the season. And who turned that season around? Shane Steichen and Jalen Hurts. End of that year in 21, they made the playoffs. So, I just want the next OC in Philadelphia to not only be somebody who's competent from an outside source and a veteran, but somebody who's also gonna stay there with this team,
which is really hard to do in the modern NFL.
I was just gonna say.
No, finish. Go, Scoop.
No, that was pretty much all I had. Was just going to say is that now more than ever, you're just you're just not seeing that. What was the organization that for a while was considered the pinnacle of consistency and stability was the New England Patriots. Now they're even they are losing coaches every single year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A team that got a new coach that looks pretty bad. Scoop, the New York Jets. The Jets is our last team that we're talking about today. Let's say this: Justin Fields still thinks this team can make the playoffs.
Yeah, I got a comment about that because I read that, and again, I was one of the bigger fans of Justin Fields coming out of college. I have a lot of. Hang on, can y'all still hear me?
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Okay, for some reason my computer froze. But I have a lot of appreciation and respect for him. But when I heard that quote, I went somewhere in a crossbreed between a chicken and Jim Mora because I was like, playoffs. Because
Jesus.
Again, love and respect the guy so much, and I really want him to succeed in the NFL. But you basically left Pittsburgh to go to the to go to the Jets. You basically went from the pinnacle of stability. People they have so much stability and consistency in the Steelers that they sometimes
the Steelers didn't want him back.
My point being that you went from that organization that is sometimes considered stable and consistent to a fault to the most tumultuous and turnover-prone organization outside of the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I'm not saying that even if he had a choice, I'm not necessarily saying stay with the Steelers. And again, I understand they didn't want him back, but the Jets.
The Jets were the only team that really wanted him. By the way, at least for a starting spot.
Well, for a starting spot, yeah. But look at what other quarterbacks have done. Other quarterbacks have been willing to not take a starting spot so that they could, get themselves back on track for a season. And it's worked out really well for guys like Sam Darnold, guys like, Baker Mayfield, guys. The quarterbacks have done that the last couple of years, and it's worked out really well. And I have to say, I highly doubt, and I believe fully that the Jets were the only team to offer him a starting spot. I highly doubt the Jets were the only team to express interest in him this offseason.
I would agree, yeah.
If they were, then my bad, and I'll eat my words. But I highly doubt that was the case. And I just think this guy was better off by trying to go to a team where maybe he wasn't going to get a chance to be the automatic starter. Maybe he wasn't even going to get a chance to compete for the starting job, but sit behind somebody, work on the things that have plagued you, and work with a coach that is better at developing quarterbacks than anybody that Chicago has seen since the Carter administration, and figure out what you can do that, and then cash in next year. There is always going to be a market for young dual threat quarterbacks. There's always
but you're not going to be young for long, and that's what he feels. I think overall is that he's just not going to be young for long. And again, that offer was pretty good.
I know he's not going to be young for. I know he's not going to be young for long, but I don't know. To me, the fact that he went to and again, I'm fully aware. I fully will acknowledge the fact that I obviously I don't know whether or not he's going to, or he had other opportunities, or I don't know what his agent was in his ear telling him, or one thing or another. But just to go to where he did, it's just it to me, that was just such a shoot yourself in the foot career type move, and because again, when quarterbacks or when players of any position, if you go to basketball or baseball, there are just certain teams that we know they do certain things well. Whether it's developing coaches, developing quarterbacks, developing pitchers, helping players get back on their feet after injury. There are just certain things that different teams are known to do well better than others. You know what I've never heard someone say? Damn, those Jets are really good at developing quarterbacks. Damn, those Jets are really good at getting those injured guys back on their feet. Two things I've never heard said in my life, unless they were talking about Winnipeg. With that knowledge, again, if his hands were tied, then sometimes that's the nature of the beast, unfortunately, and that just is what it is. But I feel bad for the fact that I think that his career, I just believe his career should have gone and I wanted it to go so much better than it has thus far. And again, maybe he still can be somebody who gets it kind of back on track. And I'm rooting for him. But man, I just when I heard that quote today, I was like, bro, if you went to the Jets, you either went because it was your only offer or because they offered you the most money. If you
which they pretty much did both, at least for the starting role and the money,
which is fair. But you sure as hell did not go to the Jets because you thought you were making the playoffs. And if you did, then someone check this guy for chronic traumatic and some Bob.
Yeah, Brandon, do you have anything on the Jets?
You know what I'm thinking about with Justin Fields? I mean, again, we just mentioned him. You know who probably could have gotten a lot out of him? Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore probably could have in New Orleans.
I mean,
that is true.
Let's take a stock of this right now. Let's say he didn't start the season on the Jets roster. You're telling me that Baltimore couldn't take a look at him right now? You're telling me that Cleveland couldn't take a look at him right now?
But again, he was in the free agent market, so he had to decide between what was available at the free agent market. He wasn't just going to wait there.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I've seen guys wait into the beginning of the season to sign, and it ended up working out pretty well.
You know what's funny? This for Justin Fields, this fell. I mean, I kind of don't blame him for this, but also I kind of do because of what he chose. But
yeah, it's kind of where I'm at.
So it's like because this is a classic case of he chose the money over everything else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So like,
and the starting role because no one else was going to offer that. Really, at the time, at least
he wouldn't start in New Orleans.
Well, wait. When did Derek Carr announce he was retiring? That wasn't before free agency.
No, I think that was.
Was that before free agency? Am I tripping?
Here, let me check right now.
Hold on. Let me check right now. I'm gonna look myself.
Because then even that, I don't even think the Saints were that interested, to be frank. Because I think they were pretty happy with what they had for what it's worth.
He retired officially May 10th.
Yeah, so no. He didn't announce it, yeah.
Yeah. So
the Saints would have been an option.
Even so, with his injuries, like, I mean, him or Justin Fields, I would take Justin Fields.
I hear that. But still,
then,
I don't think it was that viable of an option, unfortunately.
But then I know Justin Fields would want the starter role, but if I had a choice between the starter role in a career in a place where careers go to die versus like a backup role where I could have a chance to start, where I could push the number one quarterback for a chance to start, or I could go to a team that's gonna be a better offense for me to be in and possibly make a name and I'm still young enough. I would chose the latter option.
Well, that's just it. And Rob, a moment ago, and I just want to. I don't disagree with you per se, but you said he wasn't just going to wait. Okay, but Justin Fields, this is a deal that he agreed to on March 10th. So
stupid early.
Yeah, who was going to offer him a better deal? I guess is the question. Nobody.
Let me see something.
I'm not. I can't. I mean, I obviously can't say yes or no to that. But what I will say this: if let's say he doesn't accept that deal on March 10th, do we just know that nobody was going to make him an offer over the next 5.5 months?
Also Kirk Cousins was out there and potentially in the trade market, so like, I'm just trying to think of what was happening during the time and what. I'm pretty sure the agent convinced him to sign that for what it was, kind of thing. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, well, it's just, and again, I know that these agents are always going to tell them, follow the money, and I know that ultimately money is what talks, and I'm not.
And the starting role is what talks. You want to start.
Well, and again, I'll keep coming back to this. I've asked this question repeatedly to people. Would you rather be a head coach and go 7-10, or be an offensive coordinator and win a championship?
Exactly.
To me, I'd rather be a backup on a team that's winning and where I'm developing and having the best chance to have my career be at its peak than going and it's like, oh, great, I'm starting on a team with no offensive line, no wide receivers, a defense that can't get it right under a defensive head coach, and an owner, who's back and forth between the UK and here. Like and which we unironically heard last year that kids who were playing Madden were helping inform football decisions. This is not a joke. This was actually printed in The Athletic.
And you want to know, you want to know a couple guys who did take backup roles, but they're finding their way again. And it's like they took their backup roles after being starters. Like Justin Fields was a starter in Chicago, then he started to take a backup role going to the Steelers and whatnot. Now he's back to a starter, but it's not panning out. There's no development. Like look at what Sam Darnold did going from.
I mean, yeah, that's what I said.
That's what I'm saying. But but there's the Sam Darnold thing, or even right now with Mac Jones being the backup in with the Niners. Like
I keep forgetting that he's starting now.
Yeah, and he's actually playing really well. Like
playing really good football.
Like or even Jimmy G going from a backup to growing as a starter in with the Niners. That like I mean I know it's a lot of Niners related, but there's opportunities like that to grow your game sitting behind somebody or not being a starter right away.
Yeah. Well, and that's my thought is Rob's talking about money. I mean, how do we know that, spending, 15 games under the right guy? How do we know instead of a $40 million contract, next year he ain't signing a $100 million contract?
That is a fair point. You never know in this league.
Especially with the age. He's only 26. Like, like some guys in this league, they've been quarterbacks in this league since they were 21. They don't bloom until they're 27.
Yeah.
So it's like, it probably would have made sense for Fields to sit a year behind somebody decent in a decent offensive system, and then
with a coach that actually knows quarterback play.
Yeah, and instead you're playing for a defensive. Once again, just like in Pittsburgh, where it didn't. I mean, he was winning, but it didn't work there. A defensive
and it happened in Chicago with everything.
Defensive.
He's never had an offensive head coach in football in NFL.
Yeah, that's the best quarterbacks succeed or they develop well, even if they're not the starter in offenses that have offensive minded head coaches. So it's like you look at Darnold, mostly offensive minded head coaches, since he left the Jets. Then you get to go over to Jimmy G, offensive minded head coaches. Even now as a backup with the Rams, offensive minded head coaches. You look at who else? I mean, just look at Jordan Love in Green Bay, Matt LaFleur. Offensive minded. So and how he's thriving in that offense. Like
I don't know if this would count, but because I know he was already fairly good or pretty good over in LA, but Jared Goff has kind of gotten a new level in Detroit under coach
under Campbell. I guess.
Yeah, but McVay was there with him.
Yeah, McVay was kind of.
Yeah,
but he didn't fully blossom until Detroit. Yeah, that is fair.
That's kind of where I was going with that.
But it's that whole kind of like maturity thing and kind of growing into your role as a starter. Too many of these teams want these guys to be, and sometimes even the players themselves expect themselves to be the guy right away,
right off the rip.
And it's like it's just not the case. I mean, listen, for some guys it is, but for some guys you got to
the exception, not the rule.
You got to temper your expectations. It can't be like, listen, it's good to have lofty goals and ambitions and all these things like that, but you can't you're not going to hit them all in your first season in the league.
And that's the thing. When we talk about players' ceilings, and I think we do this in all sports, not just football. But when we talk about players' ceilings, not achieving your ceiling or taking a while to achieve your ceiling doesn't make you a bust automatically.
We make that mistake all the time.
We look at these things as way too polarized, way too black and white. There are a lot of levels to who was it? I think it was Giannis Antetokounmpo who said, there's steps to success, there's levels to success. You can have a very successful career and be a very good player and certainly not be a bust. Even if you're not, a Hall of Fame player, by, year 3 or year 4, because somebody said that you remind them of, Bo Jackson, which, by the way, I've said a million times, I'm sick and tired of people making those kinds of comparisons to players who are not even old enough to have a legal drink of alcohol yet.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. Let's. I guess we could go through most of them. But Brandon, sorry about your Yanks. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
That was probably the most I mean, yeah, you guys talked a lot about the Eagles, but the Yankees felt worse because that was over my
head. Yankees, I think, pissed me off more.
I mean, the Yankees. One of the biggest problems I have with the Yankees, and it's been a problem for, I guess, a few years now, is that they just can't play from behind in pressure situations. They just cannot do it. And going into game 2, your back's already against the wall, even without it being a must win. It's you don't have to, it's not win or go home, but it basically was for this game. And you came out once again swinging the bats early, not seeing pitches, not making the pitcher work. Like, you literally could be carbon copy of what you did last night. And what doesn't make sense to me is, how can you go into game 2 with the same shitty philosophy, the same shitty game plan into the second game? How does nothing change after you getting your ass beat last night? Like, really nothing changed. And then you get to, I didn't even watch the whole game, and I'm so glad I didn't. I told you guys.
I only watched the 5th, and I turned it off.
I jumped in my aunt's pool the second Max Fried gave us a 2-run home run. I said, F it. I'm done. I am not giving this another moment of my Sunday. I'm going to jump in this pool. I'm going to relax. I don't care. The Eagles already made me mad. And I was like, okay, here comes the Yankees. Not even 10 minutes after the Eagles game ends, and I'm seeing them go down 2-0. And I'm like, you've got to be shitting me again. I'm like, I was like, I am not. And then also, it was Max Fried's numbers against Toronto this year weren't great. So when I saw him give up that 2-run home run, and it was just absolutely torched, I was like, oh, forget it. I was like, he's going to get absolutely murdered out there. What happened? Got murdered. And then, I just don't understand with this offense, you don't this offense, for some reason, and it's happened for the last, not even just the last, couple of games, postseason games, or the last year or two. This has been a common theme for pretty much the last 15 years. They don't start fast at all. It takes them, especially in big games, it takes them 4,
Absolutely.
5, 6 innings to get going. You can't have that in the postseason. The best teams that are winning games jump on you early
and often.
The Yankees, in these 2 games, they didn't start swinging the bats until the game was pretty much over. And it was the same thing in Boston in game 1. They didn't start swinging the bats until the game was over, until a different pitcher was in the game. It's the one thing that makes me angry too is that it's, these guys for Toronto, this Yankees core has seen these Toronto pitchers. In Toronto, they've seen this core group of guys maybe not Yestervaj like tonight, but
which he was incredible, by the way, incredible.
And the thing is, there's not much scouting report on a rookie, but but you hit the other rookie from Boston, you hit early in the game.
That was funny.
It's game 1, the Yankees have seen Kevin Gausman 40 times in the last 10 years. You know exactly what he throws. You've seen him more than probably any other team in baseball. I've been to Yankee Stadium, and it seems like every time I go to Yankee Stadium over the last 10 years, the opposing pitcher has been Kevin Gausman. That's how often I've seen I've seen him pitch against the Yankees twice in regular season games. I know what Kevin Gausman throws. So the fact that this Yankees team last night couldn't do anything against him is pathetic. And then you get to tonight, you have a rookie who has almost nothing under his belt, like a Connerly Burley, and you can't hit him, you can't touch him, really. This isn't a guy that's gonna listen. He's got good stuff, but he's not overwhelming you at the plate. I don't understand why the Yankees have to every time, and this is like I said, it's been a problem for the last 15 years. Why they have to settle into games? Like with a talented roster and what they have available to them, they should be settling into games. They should be scoring 3 runs by the second inning, just like the Dodgers do. Like this shouldn't be a problem for 15 years.
The Dodgers, really quick on that Dodgers-Phillies series, the Dodgers can actually come back in games.
Yeah, and it's like every time I've seen the Yankees in big games, like postseason games or must-win games, every time I've seen them go down, even by a run, the body language is done. They're toast. 1-0 feels like 10-0, and it's like I don't understand how that happens every time they get into a big game. If they don't get the lead at any point, they don't win. They just don't. And like, you know, like even in that the game 1 against Boston, they scored the first run, the Anthony Volpe home run, but then after that, you did nothing. The rest of the game was nothing. Like, you just were content to sit on 1 run. That's another problem that I have with the Yankees offense is that they get a 1 or 2 run lead, and the offense thinks the game's over because the pitching starts to cruise, and all of a sudden, one bad inning where the pitcher either gives up, 2 runs to tie the game, or gives up a third one, and you're down by 1. All of a sudden, the offense stops hitting. They just stop hitting. They start chasing pitches in the dirt. They start staring at strike 3 down the middle. Why does it change? Why do these things change? Like, why are you not capable of, just like the Eagles? We talk about a consistent 60 minutes from the Eagles, right? Why can't the Yankees put together a consistent 9 innings every time they play? With the roster they have and the talent they have and the pitching they have, why can't you put together 9 consistent innings when you play, especially in the postseason when it matters most? Why can't you do it? It doesn't make sense to me. Just like the Eagles, ton of talent. Why can't you play 4 quarters? I don't understand this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm lost.
Scoop, do you have anything to add on the Yanks?
Well, it's just, excuse me, sorry. It makes just no sense to me. The fact that, like, because people talk about, guys who, can't hit in high leverage situations. Here's what makes no sense to me. We've got guys who hit very well in high leverage situations during the season. So it's like, it's not like these guys are getting all their hits in, garbage time in the regular season. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the postseason, like I'll give the example that a lot of people are going to. During the regular season, the last several years, Aaron Judge is one of our best high leverage hitters, right up there with Giancarlo Stanton. It's not like in the regular season he's only getting hits in low leverage situations. In high leverage situations, he's able to do it. And then October comes, and it's like, I don't know if he starts eating differently in October. I don't know if he just gets seasonal allergies. I don't know what the hell happens. But
no doubles, no triples, no home runs.
No, and it's like, again, and I'll go to my guy Josh Donaldson. What did he say when he was being interviewed by Marta Rosa? They don't pay you to hit ground balls. They pay you for doubles and they pay you for homers, unless you're going out there and stealing 80 bags a year like Billy Hamilton. That's what Marta Rosa said, and that's exactly true. We ain't paying Aaron Judge $360 million. We didn't give Aaron Judge the captain position for the first time since Derek Jeter to go out there. And go 3 for 3 with 3 singles. Now, again, he can't control what happens to the guys in front of him. I understand that. So all he can control is what happens, what he does. That being said, I keep going back to last night, 6th inning. That series changed when he struck out on that pitch that would have been ball 4.
That horrible ball, bro. That was such a ball.
That fundamentally changed the course of this series. Because I don't know if we win that game yesterday, but I damn sure know we don't lose the way that we did if it weren't because of that. And I know that the approach coming into today, even if you lose that game, the approach coming into today is different based on how that game ends. Not just whether you win or lose, but how you win or lose. And I'm sorry. I love Aaron Judge. I'm willing to bet not only is he the best Yankee hitter I've ever seen, I'm willing to bet he is the best Yankee hitter I will ever see. That being said, unfortunately, when you're the Yankees, it comes down to what you do in October. And way too often, when it comes to, when he is in a position to have a big moment. There have been 3 times I can think of in the last couple of days when we thought this is a chance for Aaron Judge to redeem himself, and he hasn't done it. And again, this is far from just him. Again, far from just him, because obviously, as we saw with teams like the early 2000s Texas Rangers with Alex Rodriguez, as we saw with the Angels when they had both Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. It takes more than just 1 or 2 guys to make a team win. So I am not in any way just putting this on him. But, excuse me, sorry. But another guy that I'll point out, what in the flying hell happened to Ben Rice?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
which I knew.
Because that is honestly almost worse to me than Aaron Judge. Because he was all season long. We were considering him how unlucky he had been, and then the ball started to fall, and we're like, this is the Ben Rice that we expect to see. This is the Ben Rice that we expect to see. We're like, this is our Juan Soto. We have him now in Ben Rice. We were starting to envision, give this guy a 10-year contract, blah, 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 blah. Like all this dialogue and discourse was being had. And then the last few days, I'm just like, you're basically just Paul Goldschmidt 10 years younger. And I don't mean Paul Goldschmidt, who was second in batting average to start the season. And what's worse is that he's not as good of a defender as Goldschmidt. So if they're both going to be pumpkins at the plate, I'd rather put Goldschmidt in there because at least I trust him more on defense. So, excuse me. Now I will. On the positive side, I will say shout out to Anthony Volpe. Multiple times he's come through in big moments this postseason. I don't understand why he can't do it all season and then comes through in October. But compared to the alternative that we're seeing from so many guys, I'll take it. But just looking across the board, when you can't rely on Judge and Rice and when you can't rely on Judge and Rice and God, what the hell's his name? Dominguez. Like when so many of these guys are not able to be relied upon, you can't have that. You can't get through October, and then the biggest problem of all today. Nobody could have convinced me with any possibility that we were going to see the version of Max Fried that we saw today. I don't know what the hell that was.
I've never seen a version of Max Fried like listen, his postseason numbers for his career aren't great, but in game 1, he was going step for step with Garrett Crochet. I was like, oh my God. I was like, is Max Fried? I
watched that today and I thought we paid $218 million for a guy that I'm watching right now look like something that was like the ugly version of like the ugly child of Kagawa mixed with Carl Pavano. Looking
like a single A pitcher throwing a ball to Barry Bonds.
Yeah, I don't know what I just saw, but I damn well better never see that again in October from Max Fried, because if so, my God, that's going to rival the Jacoby Ellsbury contract.
Yeah, you paid him. You paid him
$218 million.
And now you pay him a big ass contract. But you paid him to be a big game hunter. You paid him to be another Garrett Cole. You paid him to be your second ace, pretty much.
Yeah.
And to get that from him, from a guy that's supposed to be your ace, if that's your ace,
yeah. If we're running a payroll going into the postseason of almost $300 million, and God help me, the starting pitcher I might trust most is Cam Schlittler or Carlos Rodon. That is not to disrespect Cam Schlittler.
No.
But if you're the only pitcher not making anything and you're the one I trust most, this is the type of thing that makes me understand why people want Brian Cashman fired. And I don't think this is Cashman's fault.
No.
But
I think a lot of it's Boone. Boone has been awful.
I don't see. That's the thing. I don't even think a lot of this is his fault. How is he supposed to know that going up there today, Max Fried is going to lay an absolute freaking goose egg? How is he?
Well, it's all about the analytics with him. He's way too analytical, and again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but at times it's like whoa, just follow the flow of the game. Brandon always tells me that.
But what analytically was going to tell you that Max Fried was going to be an absolute disaster today?
I'm not talking about analytically today. I'm talking about analytically yesterday. In the Red Sox series.
But I even ask you that. What yesterday were you pointing at and saying that oh, this is a big analytical disaster on the part of Aaron Boone. Like, what yesterday are you thinking of that I'm forgetting?
Just like, I
Well,
guess a lot of the bullpen
Well,
stuff.
that's where I'm leaning towards is like Luke Weaver cannot come into a high level situation having a 9+ ERA in September and being an absolute pumpkin so far, like in the in the one game.
Okay. Weaver, I'll give you, even though I'm not even sure what analytics would have told him to make that move. I think he just made that move because I got to put someone in there, and I don't want to use my high leverage guys when I'm down in a game. I think that's the only thing I can come up with that. I don't think it had to do with analytics. I think it was just I don't want to use Devin Williams when I'm behind in a game.
Well, see, but being down 1 run's not the same as being down 6.
But I still. Sorry, I don't know why I'm suddenly like snorting.
Oh,
but
good.
but
you're fine. It's late. We're tired. We're done.
Yeah. But like my point being is that if he was going to have to yank somebody and he was going to be behind in a game, my thought was, okay, he would rather not put in somebody that he wants to use to protect a potential lead. But again, obviously it didn't work out, and you certainly can question the philosophy, but I do understand where he was coming from. I don't think that I wish it wasn't Luke Weaver that had gone in there, but I start to think about other guys, and I'm just like, I mean, I wouldn't have trusted Duvall going in there. You couldn't have convinced me Duvall was going to give us what he did, but I wouldn't have trusted Duvall going in there. I think some of that is just a function of the fact that our bullpen was so shit for the last 3 months of the season.
Yeah.
Okay, but then why is Luke Weaver in the post game presser going, "I'm not here mentally"? Why are you putting him in there then?
We don't know that he
Boone should know that. You know your players.
We don't know that he told Aaron Boone that.
But he should realize that.
Well,
you're around him.
You can pick up on body language pretty easily, especially as a manager.
If you're talking about mentally, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, let's take this outside of sports for a minute. How many times have we heard people say, "Oh, I had no idea this person was not checked in mentally. I had no idea."
Fair, but you're the manager of a ball club. Like,
I know that, but all these guys or a lot of those guys who are in that situation have bosses or have managers or whatever that don't know that. Like, just because you're in sports, I don't suddenly think you have an ability to do that is impenetrable compared to other people. Like, I understand what people are saying, but I also think that there comes a point where. And again, we don't know what the communication like that was, but I'm sorry, some of these things to me are on the players themselves. I can't take every single player's autonomy and default it back to somebody just because they're the manager.
I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair.
Anyway, sorry, Brandon, go.
No, it's fair.
Yeah,
it's completely fair.
I was just thinking about it. It's just overall, it's pretty sad that probably the last image we're gonna have of Luke Weaver on a big team or a big market or whatever, as a Yankee, is going to be him in the post game press conference saying I suck, I'm basically cooked. It's over.
No, I completely agree, especially because what some of them gave us in the last 15 months, he deserved a better way to go out of New York than that. As did Jordan, not John.
I just really believe two things for me with his situation messed me up. I mean, first of all, listen, I love how David Bednar's panned out, and I'm glad that we still have him for next year or however long it is. But I still just wish they would have gave Luke Weaver a chance to actually close games. I think that was the first step to where his confidence kind of fell apart. Then I think the injury, the hamstring, and they rushed him back from that. That was supposed to be a 4 to 6 week injury. They rushed him back in 2 weeks. That was not right. And then I think since that point, he's never fully recovered from it, because you can't just pitch on a hamstring that's not fully recovered. And I just think that those two things, I think he probably thought after last season he was going to be the closer. And I think he thought that hey, I can try to pitch through this injury, but that hamstring is not 100%. I mean, I don't know if it's still bumming now. He won't. Obviously, he's not going to admit to that.
Right.
But I'm wondering if those two things really just messed with his head, and it's just snowballed. And
I think for a lot of these players, I think a lot of their stuff is mental. I think that, and I don't know who is what, but I think some of these guys are just worn down by playing in New York. I think some of these guys are, into their head because of their struggles, and I think that it's snowballed. Like I think there's so many different elements of this that are unquantifiable that, and that I think is the hardest thing is you can quantify a lot of things. You can quantify who's more of a ground ball pitcher or a fly ball pitcher. You can quantify who's more of a pull hitter or a push hitter. You can't quantify who can handle pitching or playing in New York and who can't.
Yeah. Like it's like you go back to the laundry list of guys that just couldn't handle, New York. I mean, like Sonny Gray was like that. Frankie Montas was like that.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't even know if Frankie Montas ever really got a chance because he was friggin' injured the whole damn time.
Even when he did, he was just straight up trash. I mean, like it was like,
I would add Joey Gallo to that list.
Yeah, Gallo
who's probably the guy I felt the worst for because he
because he really
harassed by fans in public.
Yeah, he really did. See, no matter what, I never liked Joey Gallo. I never liked when he was here. But at the same time, I never like. But the thing is, people were actually like verbally assaulting him online, like DMing him and stuff.
Not even just that. Bro. People were going into restaurants where he was with his family and attacked and like verbally accosting.
It's one thing for us. Like it's one thing for us to say a guy sucks and we don't like them, like how they play in New York, whatever it is. Like,
it's one thing. It's one thing to heckle during like a game at a stadium. Like that's just part of sports. But then fans do this shit, and then they wonder why players don't want to come to New York. You're part of the reason. Fucking why? Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
It's true though. It's so true, and it's like like you look at how there's been so many guys throughout the history that have come to New York, and it's just like they can't figure it out. But it's like before New York they're good, and then after they leave they're good. And it's like,
Sonny Gray was the prime example of that. He went back to being an all-star guy when he went to Cincinnati or wherever.
You've seen that a lot in the Tigers series, by the way, with the Mariners.
I mean,
there's another great example, Gleyber Torres.
Yeah, Gleyber Torres. And look how many former Yankees are actually back in the post. I mean, even if they haven't had great seasons, but they're still part of the reason our team got there. Look how many former Yankees.
Even you want to talk about even just staying in New York, but going to I'm not going to use the phrase little brother, but like the smaller New York team or whatever you want to say. How many guys of ours end up on the Mets and end up doing better?
Yeah, like it's just like I don't understand because it's not even a Mets. Because even when the guys go to the Mets, they play well. So I don't understand.
That's my point. Yeah.
So it's like I don't understand. I mean, listen, I understand it, but like if you're such a good player, it's like there's that whole thing, pressure makes diamonds. Like it either makes you fold or it makes diamonds. But the problem is in New York, it's like the last time that the Yankees have had guys that have like the mental fortitude to be a Yankee are the ones that pretty much got drafted to by the Yankees or guys that came over their system and actually played there and like the core four plus Bernie, or
Brett Gardner.
But Brett Gardner, CC.
I would add Tanaka to that, although he kind of played in like the New York City almost of Japan, so I would argue he kind of had a little bit of experience with that.
And it's like we go back to, and this is what makes me sad about when we're talking about like things that are going on with Judge, how it's all kind of in his head, but it's like it's like it stinks that he's going to be one of the greatest hitters we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Past, present, or future. He's one of the greatest hitters in baseball history. But, like, at the end of the day, what is he – because, like, you look at A-Rod, how A-Rod was the big bat in the Yankees lineup, but he was such a bad postseason hitter, but it only took that one postseason in 2009 to change the narrative around.
That's just it. If he just has one good ALCS or World Series offensively, nobody ever gives a damn again about how much he struggled coming out of that point.
That's why it's like, when Dave Winfield was here in the 80s and Steinbrenner called him Mr. May, making fun of him, talking about he couldn't get it done when it mattered later in the season. But you look at all the Yankees that will be remembered like forever, like the guys that were able to do it, both in the regular season and the postseason, like, guys as far back as Babe Ruth, but even guys, in the last 30 years, Paul O'Neill, Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams, guys of that caliber, Mariano Rivera from the pitching side of things, like those kinds of guys will be remembered forever. They called Reggie Jackson Mr. October.
Mr. October.
They called Derek Jeter Mr. November.
Yeah.
Because of when the clock struck midnight on November, he hit the home run, in the World Series. It's like those are the guys that get remembered forever. It's like Aaron Judge will be remembered forever because of what he's amassed, but he could also.
It won't be as meaningful because
he's going to be kind of more of like the Don Mattingly, where he's going to be because again, Mattingly, he only made the postseason once. It was in '95, and and that was his age 34 season. He was the captain. He was a lifetime Yankee, so. He's going to be like in the Don Mattingly class, but he's not. That's kind of like the tier 2 of Yankees, not really the tier 1.
And it's like I get when every sport is a team sport. We know this. Like no sport is one guy carrying a team. We understand this.
No,
but I don't like when people listen. We know that there would be no postseason without Aaron Judge, and that alone is worth something.
Exactly.
But it's also it's one thing to understand that you wouldn't be here without him. But when he is pretty much the greatest right-handed hitter to ever play this game.
Yep.
And it's different when he doesn't perform in the postseason when he's supposed to be the greatest hitter on the planet.
Right.
It's like, Barry Bonds didn't get a ton of opportunities in all his years in the game. Ken Griffey didn't get a lot of opportunities in all his years in the game. A lot of big guys didn't. Whoever that was, Sosa.
I think the Yankees have only missed the postseason twice in Judge's career,
and that's what makes it harder. Is that yes, Aaron Judge is helping them get there, and he's probably the biggest reason why they're there. That is true.
Sorry,
but when you carry that air about you that you're the Yankees, not only you're just the Yankees captain, but you are probably one of the greatest players this game has ever seen. Like Bonds, even all the steroid guys and Griffey, whatever. They kind of have the excuse that they didn't get there. You got there, but you're not performing every single year. That's such a big stain on what your legacy is that it's like all it takes is one run. It just takes that one run. If you are the MVP Aaron Judge in that one run, you are a World Series champion.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about how many times you failed.
Well, I'll even add on to this. So right now we're down 0-2. We got to go to freaking game 3 on
Tuesday.
I don't know why I can't think to save my life. But yeah, we got to go to game 3 on Tuesday. Where thankfully we're going to be on our home turf. So if you go into game 3 tomorrow, if he gets a big home run to either keep us in the game or to give us the lead, that alone gives him a bump up from where he is right now. If he extends the series or helps us extend the series, don't even have to be a home run. If it's a double or if it's something like that, if he does that tomorrow to extend the series, we're in a much different conversation than we're in right now.
Yeah.
But if we go into tomorrow, and if God forbid this series ends on our home turf, that would be embarrassing.
Swept. Yeah.
Getting swept, and or we advance the series, but it's like he goes 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts or something of that nature. Like if you want to change the narrative, the only one who can change the narrative, and to paraphrase something that we've heard all year, and I know fans are tired of hearing of it, but I'm going to paraphrase it, and I'm going to say it directly to Mr. 99, Mr. Aaron Judge. Captain, it's right in front of you.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? It all circles back to our whole A.J. Brown thing. It starts with you.
It does. And same initials, A.J.
Oh, God.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just how it is.
Anything else, Brandon?
Oh my God. So
no, I was just gonna say it's like these are stars. These are big. These guys, both these guys, but just any star on any team in a sport.
That said, their personalities couldn't be more different.
Yeah, they're different.
True.
But it's like but it's funny because they're both not really that accountable when you think about it. Because Aaron Judge says we a lot, and he doesn't say I.
And I would disagree with that. I would disagree with that just insofar as the fact that like when Judge has like a bad game himself, like if the team is having a good game and he's the one struggling, I've seen him say that. I've seen him, acknowledge it time and again. This team is not making him the captain if he's not got a good reason to and he's not shown time and again.
Well, yeah,
And
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying in terms of like he should always be that. I'm saying like after yesterday, like I didn't like the answer he gave, saying we have to be better. Like yeah, we understand like. I just wish that like I don't know if they asked him a question about like the sixth inning, but I hope that it's like I hope he just didn't give a blank answer saying we.
I didn't see. And that doesn't mean it didn't happen, but I didn't see them ask a question like that. But
I didn't see it either. But
my guess
there was an answer
that,
he gave. I remember there was like remember I sent it to you guys. And I said I just wish he would say just once, just say I.
Yeah, I remember. I do remember that.
That's what I'm saying.
And I don't disagree with you. I think that there's a stretch between there and saying that they have the same accountability problem. I do not agree with that.
Well, I don't think I was trying. I mean, listen, I'm just tired. I don't think I was trying to say that.
I mean, it is 1:30 in the morning. So
yeah, like
and that's where I am.
Or for me,
that's where I am. For you, it's 2:30.
Like yeah, I'm not trying to say that. Like, but I'm saying in terms of like like today, like AJ Brown after the game, I don't think he ever said like he was saying in terms of the offense on that play where he should have had a touchdown reception.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh yeah, it's a miscommunication between me and Jalen, like we our offense."
Yeah,
and I'm like,
that's the thing because it was specifically about a play, so I had more of an issue with that because it was a play that's centered around him. If and I agree with you, if there was a question asked specifically about his strikeout in the sixth, then I'd want him to hear. Yeah. I want to hear him directly.
That's where I'm going with that. Or it's like, so it's like every time where it's like, AJ might take off a play or whatever it is, like he kind of did there, or slowed up on a route. It's like, okay, it's like in that moment, it's like, we caught you in 4K. Like, can you just say that it was you just once? Like, I'm not saying you have to like really bash yourself over the head with a bat, but like, you just say that I'll take responsibility for that. That was on me. Like,
yeah.
Because Jalen did that today. Now Jalen had a good game, but he still sent me. Like I'm like, okay, that I like to see that. Or even Saquon saying that as a team, our offense didn't execute, but it's like, but he's like, I don't care if I have 9 touches or 90 kind of thing. Like, so it's like he's like, did we win the game? I don't care what I did, but he still said I. Like,
yes,
I don't remember Aaron Judge in the postseason, maybe in the regular season, yes, but in the postseason, I don't remember him ever saying like, with his bad postseason history, I don't remember him ever saying I have to be better. It's always been we have to be better, and I'm like, I get sentiment.
I don't remember that either. But to be fair, the guy's been in the league for 9 years, so
it's like but like in terms of like stars, like how the guys, like how Jalen will say I or Saquon will say I, and those guys are captains of the team and whatnot. It's like just once, like. That sixth inning yesterday, that whole game revolved around Judge's strikeout. It's like that's where it's like I hope they did ask him a question. I don't know if they did, but even so, I want him to just say even if it's not related, like even if it's not a question that's asked about that inning and his at bat, I would want him to say like, what went wrong today? Like I would love to see him start by saying, well, I have to be better in that sixth inning, and then go into all the other problems. Like just say I once, like
I got you now.
Admit that you didn't do something right instead of saying, we as a team. Like, I get what you're saying when you say we, because everybody didn't do their job. It's why you didn't ultimately win. But take that accountability just for one, specific thing, like whatever it was. Like, just do it once so that we know, because when you hear we so much, it becomes generic. It becomes too buttoned up. It becomes too polished. It's like it doesn't make it sound sincere when you're saying we.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean. It's kind of like the players' version of like when we get these press conference answers from Aaron Boone, where it's like even if what he's saying is literally like in a literal sense is accurate, true, and correct.
Yeah.
It's like we've heard it so damn many times that it's like we feel like we're, but then again, and this is a whole other topic that I'm not going to get into because it's going to keep us all up way much longer than we want to be. But that being said, I also think that these required press conferences after every game and these required interviews after every game, some of the times I'm watching them and I'm like, well, what the hell are they supposed to say?
Yeah.
No, it's true because the media training is so sophisticated. You have a PR guy running the whole thing.
Like, we watched the damn game. We know what happened. Like, someone's going to either ask you a padded question that nobody either needs to have the answer or cares what you have to say, or we're gonna ask you a question and you're gonna give us an answer that our own freaking eyes are gonna tell us that what you're saying is a crock of shit.
And they're just, and on top of that, they're like, these guys are just exhausted. They just went through basically war for 3-4 hours. Like, they've had their whole day prepping for this game, thinking about this game, getting ready for this game, playing this game, having the emotions from this game, and then you're gonna sit there after the game when it's late after a game, and then like they can't be thinking about every single answer to a question too. Like,
well, that's where the media training comes in because it's a very sophisticated thing now.
Like the only like that, but that's the only thing is like sometimes like even after a win, like even after when they do win, the answers are still very buttoned up, and I'm like okay, like I don't mind it, but I'm saying it as like there's different like. I wish the media training or whatever they go through, there's different ways to answer something instead of giving the same answer over and over and over and over.
Because it's about protective. About protective. It's about being protective. That's the whole point of PR training.
I don't disagree with you in terms of there's different ways to answer it. That being said, I personally know that like someone will ask me a question and they'll be like, that's what you said the last time. Like, I sometimes wonder if because they've had to answer the same damn question so often, I sometimes wonder if they just forget that they've already answered it that way.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah,
it's all part of the game. It's just it's like when I hear Meredith Marakovits like interview a player after the game, and I'm like,
she drives me freaking nuts. I'm sorry,
but it's like that's where like my journalism thing kind of kicks in, and I'm like, well,
I forgot that you're a journalism guy. I'm sorry.
And
we
that's
both are.
That's also why like when I think about like a player's answer to something and it's the same answer over and over and over again, it's like if I wrote an article and I started the same article, like if it was a certain topic and they're like, okay, write this article. If I talked about the article basically in the same structure every single time, I would fail.
Absolutely, because one thing is creative writing, one thing is an essay. Yeah.
Like, so I always think about it. I always think about it in a way like this. So there's media training, and I understand that, but there's also ways you can give like kind of a buttoned up answer, but still
provide substance,
revise it a little bit, and provide something to it. So,
but that's the thing. That's the fault of PR teams because PR teams don't want that. They want no risk of any, circus. Unlike Jerry Jones.
Now, if you don't mind me just adding something real quick.
Of course. Finish us off.
One thing I will mention is that so you're talking about these two different types of assignments that you potentially get in a journalism thing, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about you've gotten a prompt, you've gotten to read it, you've gotten to sit with it. These guys are coming off of a 3.5-hour game and are getting something thrown at them in real time. So
100%. 100%. It's almost like taking an exam after an exam kind of thing of a separate skill set.
And an exam that you weren't given a study guide for.
Yeah. See,
except you were because you get the training for months on end.
Well, but just you were trained on how to answer a question per se. You weren't trained on how to answer what was going to be asked of you per se. So
100%. Yeah.
They can ask you whatever they want. It's just Meredith happens to ask the same 2 questions every fucking night.
Yeah, see, like that's why I like it's like
this is why I hate local broadcast teams.
Yeah,
they actually don't ask great. Most of the time, they don't ask great questions. It's like not every single time.
Somebody that's like that's so linguistically involved, like I am. It's like for me, it's a little bit different. Like I separate the sports side of it just from like for a second because I'm also like I get, having to have the same things kind of asked of you and all these different things. And like, listen, I've been an athlete, when I was a kid. Like, I understand like what happens. Like when hell,
Excuse me.
even when like, my dad would ask me after a game that we lost, what happened out there, or not what happened, but like he'd be like, oh,
Pretty much that.
Something like that. And I would be like, well, and I'd just be too tired to have like a real like decent answer. So I get that. It's just that for me, at least like, for 90% of my life, I've been good at thinking on my feet in terms of like how to answer something in the moment. So it's like,
well, that's part of our training for media and journalism as well.
yeah,
Because we're also required to have some level of understanding of public relations, even if we didn't outwardly take the class.
like what's funny? Like my grandfather asked me, 'cause I heard Marathon Rokovich back like in the summer in like June, asked like a dumb question on.
Oh, I remember you telling me this.
And my grandfather was sitting outside, and I was telling my grandfather about a dumb question she had asked like after the game. It was like a 1:00 game, so we were sitting out there like 4:00. I'm like leaning on the hood of my car, like we're talking about it just outside, and we're talking about the game and whatnot. And then I said, did you hear the dumb question she asked? Like I forget what player it was. And he was like, oh, no, what did she say? And I told him what the question was, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh, I wouldn't have said that. And he's like, oh, well, how would you have said it? It took me maybe about 15, 20 seconds, and I thought of a way different and better way and fresh way of asking that question. And I was like,
yeah,
it's not hard. Like, because like it was something like oh, it might have been Aaron Boone. I think she asked him like, oh, why, or what do you think happened in that 6th inning or whatever it was, something like that. And I was like, what do you think happened like to his like command over the pitcher or whatever. It was something like just basic. What happened to the pitcher in this inning? And I'm like, well, there's a different way to ask that. You can say, like, did you think that not by not throwing the player under the bus, but like, oh, did you think that X player, did you think like something was off?
Yeah, more specific, essentially.
Yeah, like
I will say that in doing sideline, which I do for AWA a good amount, it is a lot of like fast pace, so they're still pretty simple questions. Like you have to be kind of simplistic. Plus, we also have fun with it, so it's a lot different than like a major league ball club. But yeah. You're right about that. It's
different. So it's like when I hear a player or a coach give the same answer, like an Aaron Judge or Jalen Hurts, whatever it might be, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, there's a way different way to answer that I can think of right now, like type of thing. So it's like my brain is just wired differently for it.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, we are what hitting the two. Well, we are hitting the 3-hour mark, so we should call it there.
It's almost 3, right? It's like 2:50 something.
I have no freaking idea.
We're at 2:47.
Woof.
Hey, I won't complain. This is how it works on a Sunday. I was going to get to the Mariners and all the other games, but we'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah, it's fine.
After Chiefs Jags. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully.
Please, for the love of God.
Please be good.
I just want good football. Today was not good.
Oh, my God. But, yeah, we'll record actually directly after that game, as we always do on Monday. So we'll see you then. Have a great rest of your Sunday, everybody. See ya.
Good night, y'all.
Take care, everybody.
Peace.